Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Council of the Town of Oakville. I invite everybody to rise and, if you're able, and join Council in O Canada. Thank you, everybody. Please be comfortable. And get that camera going again. The town of Oakville is located on treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We thank the Mississaugas for being stewards of this traditional territory. By 1820, the Mississaugas began welcoming settlers from all over the British Empire. Soon, Oakville was welcoming Black people fleeing the United States. Our Indigenous white and Black settlers created a community of harmony that makes us proud. I should say residents created a community of harmony that made us proud. By 1857, Ontario recognized Oakville as a town. At Town Hall, we fly the flag of the Mississaugas with the flags of Oakville, Ontario, and Canada to acknowledge our origins. The vibrant livability we are creating for all is attracting people from across Canada and the world. We feel sorrow for acts of racism and intolerance suffered across the world, including Canada and here at home. We want our future to be equitable and inclusive for everyone. We believe the path of truth and reconciliation can unite us. Please keep well, stay safe, and let us on council know of any chance to be helpful to you and yours. And please let us know anytime that you can help increase Oakville's harmony, prosperity, and livability. Council, I understand we have no regrets for this evening, and let's keep it that way. Let me know if there's any declarations of pecuniary interest now. Council and Mr. Clerk, I do not see any declarations. And we have no public presentations. We have no committee minutes. We have advisory committee minutes. Heritage Oakville Advisory Committee minutes from September 23rd. And what we need is a motion and a seconder that the following recommendations pertaining to items 4.1 and 4.3 of the Heritage Oakville Advisory Committee minutes from its meeting September 23rd be approved and the remainder of the minutes received. Councillor Giddings, Councillor McNeice, thank you. Any objection? There being none, the items are approved and the balance received. We have 3 consent items. Councillor Lischina moves them as presented. Councillor Dudek seconds. Any objection? There being none, the consent items are approved as listed. And that brings us to the big meaty part of the meeting, the discussion items. And we're going to begin with 11.1, the Transportation Master Plan. And if we give our attention to Lynn Rogers, the Director of Transportation and Engineering, and the ensuing presentation, the folks at home will be as edified as council is, and we can maybe make progress. Lynn?
Good evening, Mayor Burton and members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Transportation Master Plan. With me today is Khalil Baraksai, the Manager of Transportation Planning, and Ali Zeb, the Transportation Engineer for our Transportation Planning Group. Also with us online is Ray Backey and Zinli Tu from RJ Burnside. This Transportation Master Plan is a forward-looking strategy that guides how we move people and goods across Oakville by doing that safely, sustainably, and efficiently through 2051. As Oakville continues to grow, managing congestion and ensuring mobility for all residents becomes increasingly critical. The TMP takes a multimodal approach, focusing on walking, cycling, transit, and strategic roadway improvements to support complete communities and reduce the reliance on single occupancy vehicles. This plan was shaped by over 600 points of contact, delivers over 300 targeted recommendations and actions to align with Council's priorities and prepares the town to manage growth. These actions range from infrastructure investments to policy and program enhancements for active transportation, goods movement, transit, emerging technologies, and travel demand management, all aiming to improve safety, accessibility, and travel choices. Tonight, we'll walk you through the planning process, key findings, costs, and how public input and council direction have helped shape the vision for Oakville's transportation future. With that, I will hand it over to Khalil to present the Transportation Master Plan.
Good evening, Mayor Byrne and members of council. Thank you, Lynn, for that introduction. My name is Khalil Baraksai, and I will present the Transportation Master Plan tonight. The main ask for council today is to approve the Oakville Transportation Master Plan. We also ask that the financial implications be referred to future capital budget discussions and inform the upcoming development charges background study to ensure that the growth-related costs can be recovered to the fullest extent possible. And because we're following the municipal Class A process for master plans, that the notice of completion be issued to initiate the 30-day review period. Getting to this point has been a long process that started in mid-2023 with our first public open house. Through the process, we have had 4 PICs, 9 pop-ups, and 2 public surveys. On April 14th, we hosted a council workshop to present a draft report and our findings to date, and received additional feedback in May and June through the final PIC. This TMP is an update to the previous 2018 Transportation Master Plan and also replaces the 2017 Active Transportation Master Plan. The TMP sets out over 300 recommendations to shift Oakville's transportation system to a more sustainable and multimodal network by 2051. As noted on the last slide, our public engagement was above and beyond what is required through the EA process, and we received over 600 points of contact and 300 comments indicating strong, broad support for active transportation and transit. The cost of this plan, as noted, is $1.37 billion, of which 75% is estimated to be funded by development charges. The TMP is aligned with the studies noted here, including the Oakville Transit 5-year business plan, the Midtown Oakville Transportation Plan, Oakville's official plans, the upcoming the 2041 Regional Transportation Plan, and provincial policies. We're also fully aligned with the upcoming Halton Region Integrated Master Plan, which focuses on water, wastewater, and transportation. We have worked in close coordination with our regional partners throughout the process. We know that to realize the success of this plan, we need our regional and provincial partners to follow through on their commitments. The TMP is an overarching document that sets the overall vision for our transportation network and the strategic framework to deliver on transportation infrastructure and policies. It's a 30,000 feet view of the town's needs and opportunities. Staff are also working on the Midtown Transportation Plan, which takes a closer look at just Midtown and dives deeper into Midtown-specific improvements and needs. Project-level issues such as intersection design, specific policy outcomes, or content is not within the scope of this TMP. We know that the densification required to meet the housing targets handed down by the province will double the town's population by 2051, as estimated by the joint best practice estimates. We are mandated to grow under the provincial policy statement. This will lead to intensification and higher density, and therefore higher demand on our transportation network. Historically, the response to this has been to widen roads. but we've learned this is a short-term solution that leads to induced traffic and eventually leads to more congestion. It can also disrupt our existing established and stable neighborhoods. Through this plan, we're taking a different approach. We're managing congestion by shifting the way we travel and move around town using transit and active transportation and moving away from single motor vehicle trips. This approach also aligns with the town's official plan to build a multimodal transportation system whereby residents don't need to rely on a car to meet their daily needs. There are 324 actions and policies in the TMP to shift our transportation system from auto-centric to multimodal. The full list is available in the report, but some of the key policies include adopting complete street guidelines, multimodal level of service guidelines, curbside management strategy, updating our design guidelines for AT facilities, transitioning to a permissive truck network, an e-scooter implementation review, and a transportation demand management program. We'll quickly flip through these infrastructure recommendations over the next few slides, as you've seen them all before. From our roads, we're carrying forward all of the recommendations from the 2018 TMP and introducing new grade separations in Midtown, as well as a number of studies, including neighborhood and corridor studies that will take a closer look at a local level to identify the needs and opportunities of that neighborhood. As noted, this TMP replaces the 2017 ATMP, and we've carried forward all the recommendations from that ATMP into this plan. The implementation of these facilities will be assessed through those previously mentioned neighborhood and corridor studies and/or evaluation studies. Those studies may also identify links at a local level that may not have been identified through this work. Similarly, for the sidewalk network, the plan carries forward the recommendations of the 2017 ATMP. A sidewalk feasibility study will be conducted prior to implementation that will include strong public consultation. And during that study, all sidewalk connections will be assessed, and new connections may potentially also be identified and/or evaluated. For transit, we're carrying forward the Oakville Transit 5-year business plan, as well as the 2025 to 2029 Family of Services transit network. And the long-term vision for transit is to build upon that 5-year plan and include the bus rapid transit network on Trafalgar, Bronte, Dundas, as well as the Regional Express rail on the Lakeshore West Line and the Palermo Transit Terminal. Upon build-out, the vast majority of the town will be within 800 meters of a frequent transit network route. For goods movement, some of the improvements we are recommending include curbside loading and management plans, an off-peak delivery pilot, and transitioning to a permissive truck network. At the last presentation at the council workshop, council inquired about the reasoning behind moving to a permissive truck network and if we were removing any existing truck restrictions. To be clear, we are not removing any existing truck restrictions. Those will continue to stay in place. What a permissive network does is it encourages trucks to use designated roads that are fit for use by trucks. At the moment, trucks are allowed to use any roads within Oakville unless otherwise signed. Moving to a permissive network allows us to control where they travel and causes less confusion for truck drivers, as the signs provide positive guidance to drivers that they are on allowed routes. Both dedicated and prohibited areas would be indicated. This is a similar approach adopted by many other Canadian cities, including Toronto, Region of Peel, Hamilton, and Edmonton. E-scooters in Ontario are here to stay. With an ever-growing adoption rate and new types and models available for purchase, their presence will only grow. The time has come for Oakville to regulate their use through opting into the provincial pilot program. If we don't opt in, we cannot regulate where e-scooters can and cannot be used or where they can be parked. The TMP is therefore recommending a 3-year implementation review that will result in the town opting into the provincial pilot. For parking is a dynamic and evolving issue that requires coordinated short, medium, and long-term planning, along with ongoing management and operations. It plays a key role in supporting growth management, land use planning, and development objectives. While parking was not explicitly studied in the TMP, several TMP actions will influence how parking is planned and managed. The TMP operates at a strategic level and does not include site-specific parking studies. However, it does provide guiding principles to inform future parking strategies, some of which are listed on this slide. Central to the success of our master plan and achieving our goals are these key performance indicators, which will help us track progress and evaluate the effectiveness of the TMP. Each KPI has a corresponding target that we will track and update with each update to our transportation master plan, which happens on a 5-year cycle. The KPIs with red asterisks are those that are recommended for annual monitoring. Those that aren't asterisks would require more network system-wide data, typically requiring reliance on external sources such as the Transportation Tomorrow Survey, which is updated every 4 years, and those are recommended for updates through future TMPs. This slide highlights some key projects led by other agencies that are essential to the success of our Transportation Master Plan. We're actively advocating for initiatives like the Neagawa GO Station, potential GO Station relocation Midtown, and improvements along Kerr Street. We know that the successful implementation of the town's Transportation Master Plan is inherently dependent on the region and province fulfilling its commitments as outlined in the Halton Integrated Master Plan and the Regional Transportation Plan. The long-term effectiveness is predicated on a coordinated and complementary approach between the town, region, and province. Without this alignment, the town's ability to achieve its goals may be constrained. So this slide shows the capital cost of this plan in detail. It breaks it down by streets as well as the short, medium, and long term. Or sorry, not by streets, by category. So streets, active transportation, and transit. So the total cost is $1.37 billion. The short-term cost over the next 10 years identified as $750 million. Of that, $641 million has been previously identified. This slide illustrates what we estimate to be the split between benefit to existing and development charges. So how will we be funding those costs? As you can see, we're estimating that overall about 75% of the costs are expected to be recovered through development charges. In the short term, that number is about 71%. The DC split is determined at a project level based on the nature of the project, and even projects that are majority DC funded can have a benefit to existing portion. For example, streetscape enhancements and neighborhood safety improvements serve broader community needs beyond just growth. There are a number of major road projects required to accommodate future travel demands, but will require advocating for funding from other agencies such as the region and the province or Metrolinx. Of these, we envision the new north-south road to be a regional corridor to divert the Trafalgar BRT from Trafalgar Road to this new north-south road and connect to the GO Station. In total, the cost by the region for identified projects by them add up to approximately $69 million, and for the province to $425 million. Following Council's approval, a 30-day notice of completion will be issued, triggering a public review period in compliance with the municipal class EA process. The TMP will be considered approved following this period, pending we don't get any Section 16 orders from the minister, and we'll move on to implementation. So thank you for listening. I will now take any questions that Council may have.
Thank you for the summary of the situation. Councillor Nanda will oblige you with the first question.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton. Thank you so much for the presentation. It's very detailed. The report was very detailed, so I do appreciate it. I would like to propose an amendment to the report, an amendment for the section on e-scooters to be separated for further review.
Well, Councillor, great and fine, but e-scooters are mentioned in here 60 times, and there isn't one section. Can you be more precise, and can you reduce your motion to writing?
So the section that discusses says the TMP on page 58 of the agenda, it says recommends a phased approach to evaluate and potentially opt into Ontario's e-scooter pilot program. And so the reason I'm asking for this amendment is that e-scooters are supposed to be illegal right now under the Highway Traffic Act. And I have many residents that do not feel that they should be allowed on the roads in any way, shape, or form. We recently, last week, at an elementary school, had communication come from a school principal. A letter was sent out earlier today, which I sent out to members of council as well, where they indicated they had sent an email to all parents asking parents to please not let any students bring e-scooters to school because of how dangerous they had become. They were riding in the parking lots. Less than 10% were wearing helmets, and it was a huge concern. And shockingly, the next day, 0 e-scooters came to school. They had no e-scooters. And so that showed when you have good communication and when communication is put out there, that people will oblige. So I feel that this is something that we should look into further. Further work before we even start doing any phasing in. I do feel we should work more with Halton Police. Toronto Police also did a blitz. They did a blitz campaign on e-scooters. So have we actually reached out to Halton Police and spoken to them about it?
Through the chair, we are in conversation right now with Halton Region Police with respect to moving forward with either an educational campaign or just efforts in general with respect to e-scooters. I would want to clarify, within the TMP, it does identify an implementation review. It doesn't automatically opt in. It gives us the opportunity whether, one, we have a network to support e-scooters, and two, whether the municipality should opt into the program and permit e-scooters within our roadways or our public right-of-ways. So just to clarify that, it is not an automatic opt-in. So it does give us the opportunity through study, the next study, which would be that implementation review, to identify whether, if it is right for Oakville to opt into the program.
And so, yeah, and I agree with that. And I think one of the concerns is, again, the communication that came out. And based on what I heard from this principal coming out, I thought their communication was very effective. So I feel like if we worked with the school board, this principal said that a few principals are actually going to the school board to see if there could be a wider communication for all the schools, which I think would really help us. My concern is just, again, on what people perceive or what the residents will perceive, that if this gets passed with it, that there's a miscommunication now that they're legal. So that's my worry. We've had some issues with communications we saw last week as well, in terms of what residents understand in the communication we try to put out. So my only ask was that maybe we deal with this separately at the next meeting or another meeting.
To check into the health of that button. Thank you, Councillor Nanda. Is there a seconder for her motion? Councillor Nanda, I think your motion dies for a lack of a second. Anybody else? Oh, I've got a forest of hands. I had the master plan open so that I could tell you there were 60 places where it's in there. Councillor Giddings, and then Councillor Grant, Councillor O'Meara, Councillor Knoll, and who knows how far we'll go. Councillor Giddings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Speaking of scooters, pages 98, 99 talks about proactively planning and building an e-scooter friendly network. Do you have any examples of other municipalities that are able to get scooters onto any other ways of passage other than roads, sidewalks, and trails?
Through the chair, we do know of other municipalities that have used multi-use trails as well. But again, we would look as part of the implementation review to see where it would be best and to ensure that if we are to opt in as part of the overall strategy, would to see if the network in itself is connected. Because we are looking to have a connected network as an alternative mode of transportation, again, should we opt in. But I do know of other municipalities that have looked at other locations other than the roadway or they're not permitted on sidewalks, but on multi-use trails or multi-use paths, I would say, not trails, to support e-scooters.
Thank you. Would that be a combination of existing trails possibly being widened or new trails or?
So through the chair, I'm not specific with their capital program specifically in terms of whether to be widened, but they do identify a network. And I think that's the important part, to look at the connectivity so that there are origin and destination places to go and to come from. And I don't know the specific capital programs for those other municipalities.
All right, thank you. Your comment about Cross Road, I found of interest. With Midtown coming, is Cross Road able to handle the projected traffic, or is there another east-west route necessary? We've been talking for a decade or more about the modal split. Have we seen any effective change? We realize that we're growing, more people are commuting, that there are more and more cars on the road than in the past. Has there been any success or much success? Like, do we measure that in through our transit system, through Go Riders? Just we never seem to catch up to ourselves in terms of reducing traffic.
Through the chair, so with Cross Avenue and a lot of these other new roadways that we are proposing through Midtown, it is the combination of land use as well as the road network that does allow for the movement of people and goods in these rather urban growth centers. So what we are seeing through the course of time as I brought forward the original Midtown Transportation Plan as well as the 2012 TMP, we are seeing a shift of land use where we're seeing that population and intensification near transit-oriented areas. So we are seeing that shift in terms of having those localized and dense neighborhoods immediately adjacent to transit. So we are seeing that shift, as well as through the pandemic. As we see transit networks and transit facilities grow, we are seeing that shift in terms of modal split, how we originally called it through the original TMP.
Thank you. The minimum parking standards that will be in place for Midtown as well as a number of other areas, is that we talk about it being effective because there'll be reduced parking levels. We've experienced in other areas of town where they just find more creative places to park because then the need is still there. Any information out there in terms of successes where this has occurred that we can look at?
Through the chair, we've looked at other locations, and we will be looking and studying further as part of the action and recommendations through the TMP to look at that through Midtown as well as through the Midtown study and the parking strategy that does come with that. But what I will say, there are other municipalities and urban growth centers that have seen success with minimum parking rates. It does provide that opportunity to, one, be more accessible in terms of financial accessibility for people to buy homes, and it gives them the opportunity as well, being close to transit, those alternative and competitive modes of transportation. So there are other growth centers within the GTA that have seen the success. It isn't overnight, so I do want to manage everyone's expectations. It does happen as we do grow through these urban growth centers that you see that shift and the positive impacts of minimum parking.
Thank you.
Mr. Backey, do you have something to add to this discussion?
Yes, if I can, through you, Mr. Mayor, just to add and reinforce Ms. Rogers' comments. First, on the road network in Midtown, and I think I believe that the question did inquire about Cross Avenue, and and the capacity of cross and the need for greater connectivity in the Midtown plan and in this overall transportation master plan, there is an additional road connection that's proposed. I think most council may have seen that in some of the public meetings, that connection between Argus and Davis Road will provide, and it will be a grade separated from Trafalgar Road. So that will provide greater network flexibility for Midtown, and it will offload some of that demand at the Cross Trafalgar intersection for traffic that is destined to either side of Midtown. And with regard to parking strategies, and as Ms. Rogers is correct, that the Midtown plan has a sort of a strategy, a parking strategy associated with it. That does, in fact, with Bill 185, that there are no parking requirements included in MTSAs or transit station areas, major transit station areas. That is a challenge in that the town will have to sort of manage a little more proactively manage a parking supply and demand. But part of the benefit of lower parking requirements is that the decisions are made by home purchasers before they buy the house or before they buy the condo as to whether or not they will own a car, or whether that is the community for them. And it does tend to influence or lower the demand for parking.
Thank you, sir. Councillor Grant?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Transit, talking about our BRT ideas. When I was reading the report, I had it in mind that in the first phase, we're looking at possibly converting some of the lanes on Trafalgar and Dundas to HOV and possibly doing enhanced signaling. Is that correct?
Sorry, yes.
Go ahead.
Actually, maybe Ray can answer that one. Ray, you mind?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. The intent is to have improved access to the GO station for buses and accessing the general area around the GO station with transit priority. That is intended, and the town has worked with the regional staff regarding the timing of transit priority, first in the form of high occupancy vehicle lanes, and then eventually reserved bus lanes, but doing it in a manner where that typically curb lane is implemented with transit priority in a sort of an effective time frame, so that the lane isn't in the early stages restricting traffic and sitting sort of empty for periods of time. As the demands in the frequent transit network increases, that those restrictions start to transition from general purpose to HOV to reserved bus lanes. And the designs for Midtown, for example, are proceeding, and those designs will include the configurations so that buses can operate effectively, and it would be part of the signal timing plan, just as the question is accurate, that transit priority opportunities would be looked at as well.
Okay, so that's within the first 10 years of approval of this plan.
That is, through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct. The lanes will be there. The form of restriction will be coordinated with the scheduling and the frequency of the transit service.
Okay, all right. As much as anybody, I believe in transit, more than most people. I believe in transit, but Trafalgar is a mess. Dundas is a mess. And removing a lane, no matter how slowly we do it, might become a very Herculean task for us to try and attempt. So good luck. I guess that brings the next question then. Would creating these priority lanes make trips faster or just create more bottlenecks throughout our network?
Through the mayor, it's a good question. So part of this, the goal of this plan is to shift the way people move around town. And to do that, we need to prioritize transit. And sometimes there may be trade-offs in the way we travel and accepting some level of traffic to achieve that modal shift towards transit.
Okay. All right. And all of this being done is based on the belief that Metrolink somewhere along the line, I think it was 2041, will come along and say, let's do BRT finally, I believe.
Yes, sorry, through the mayor. So we are advocating for those projects to come forward. So the BRT on Dundas, Trafalgar, and Bronte. So we're continuing to advocate with Metrolinx to do their part.
The concern I have there is that it's been pretty much 20 years ago. Rob McIsaac had said to me, yeah, we're going to do BRT up and down Trafalgar, don't worry. And it's 20 years of advocating. Do you think it's actually going to happen in the next 5 to 10?
Through the mayor, I do think it's going to happen. We've seen BRT start to get off the ground in other regions. I know in Durham region, for instance, they've gone through some of the early stages of the designs. And so we're continuing to advocate, and I think, hopefully we're next in line for that piece.
Okay. Very good. And then just a question about charging stations. Are we planning them at all of our major hubs now?
Through the mayor, I believe the EV charging strategy for the town is under review, or it's been updated recently. Phoebe?
Sorry, just want to clarify the question. The EV charging stations at,
For the buses at,
for the
at
buses.
Uptown Core, at...
Yes, of course, yes. So through our electrification of our bus plants, so there are EV charging at the Uptown Core and the Oakville Go, and there will be different opportunities. Of course, we're upgrading our Whitecroft station facility to ensure there are charging facilities for our e-buses.
Okay. All right, very good. Moving on to scooters, seeing how that's the popular one today. And, when do we actually plan to start the pilot? Year 3?
So through the mayor, so year 1 will be the education campaign and review of our network. By year 3, we want to opt in and allow scooters in controlled areas within Oakville based on that infrastructure readiness and review of where they can be operated safely. So correct, by year 3, we'll be in the program.
3 years ago, I wouldn't have known that scooters would be such a big thing. In 3 years, who's to say? It seems like a long time for us to try and solve a problem that's happening right now.
Through the mayor, that's a valid concern, but the reason we took a phased approach is we wanted to learn from the lessons that some of our neighboring municipalities that have opted into the program a little too fast, and now they've maybe run into issues and it's hard to kind of backtrack. So we want to take that first year to 2 years to do that industry scan, to evaluate our network, to inform people on what is and isn't allowed before we opt in so that we can do it in a controlled manner.
Okay, but we are planning, for a lot of what we're doing, we're planning on bringing an outside vendor to run a program and then get feedback from them.
Through the mayor, so that would be an aspect that would be reviewed as part of the 3-year strategy. It's not necessarily an automatic yes.
Okay.
We can opt into the pilot without that piece as well.
'Cause I'd be much more interested in hearing what the actual users have to say, get real life data. I mean, I broke the rules and rode my scooter here today, just because I could. And I wore a helmet. I went down the multi-use lane on Trafalgar. I did everything right. And if we had more people knowing that there are certain rules we can follow and do this properly, we may be able to get ahead of this a little bit faster than waiting on all this data. And again, as I'm heading down, as I'm sitting next to the chair of the Paulton Police Board, what it's going to give me a ticket shortly. Really, a big question everybody has right now, and it's all over Facebook, is what are we going to do to enforce any of these rules? Helmet usage, speed limits, age.
Did you want to? So through the mayor, so if we don't opt into the program, it's really difficult for Halton Police and our enforcement partners to enforce any of the rules. So the first step of that 3-year strategy is to educate on what is allowed, what isn't allowed, get the parents on board, maybe explore partnerships, things like that. And so by opting in, we're enabling that enforcement lever to be used.
All right, because it's wonderful to hear from Councillor Nanda that at her school, everybody stopped using them. At a school locally, Holy Trinity, they were told they couldn't use them either. And some kids just started doubling up on the scooters, so there'd be less of them to catch. I'm concerned that we're going to be taking so much time gazing at our navel at this that we're going to let it get out of hand even further. So I'm hopeful that we've got a lot more ideas coming in that first year. Anyways, that's all my time for now, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor O'Meara.
Thank you very much for that. And I'll just pick up on Councillor Grant's comments again. I think 3 years is way too long to wait. I don't think we have that time. I think we need to hear back in a year on what we want to do. Without rules, we have the Wild West, and there are the majority of multimodal users are law-abiding people. I know there are people who will always not be that one, but they have no rules with which to abide by. And the parents have no rules with which to abide by. And by not having rules, we're waiting on the province to do something that, again, they did for bicycles, and we need to do so. I would like to see that change to 1 year. I would like a report back in a year rather than 3 years on what we're going to do. We can't, the camel's nose is in the tent. This is not going to change. So I also find it, very interesting that we have been fighting for multimodal use and modal splits for decades now. And we finally have a modal split that people want to use, and we're saying, whoa, stop using it. Instead of setting parameters around it and trying to make it safe, I think we're sort of riding two horses at the same time here, and I think we need to not do that. So I would, depending on how the conversation goes, I'd be willing to put up forward amendment to report back in a year rather than wait 3 years, because I don't think we can. With the caveat that goodness knows the province needs to go and do something here. Just like they've done for everything else, the province is laying it on municipalities, and that's not fair either. So we need the province to step up and be responsible for that. So I appreciate that, and I'll see where the conversation goes a little later with that. My second question is with regards to our educational element of the Transportation Master Plan. And I guess my question to staff is, do we believe in the concept of induced demand?
Through the mayor, absolutely. I think it's part of the philosophy of the way we planned the approach to this Transportation Master Plan was that we need to do something else besides widening roads, because when you widen roads, you're not at 100% saturation in terms of car ownership. So as people find that it's faster to travel by car than other modes of travel, they buy more cars. And then what happens is you get more traffic, and then you're right back to where you started. So induced demand is a real thing. There's many real-world examples of it. You can look in Durham on the 407 that was recently, the tolls were removed. It's like the 401 now. So induced demand is a real thing in transportation, and so that's why we've taken the approach to shift away from auto-centric to a multimodal approach.
So why are we not leaning more into that conversation? Because I think I did a scan. I thought we mentioned it once in the entire report. We try and encourage people to take other means, but what we don't do is tell people building more roads doesn't work. We don't have that conversation with residents. And time and time again, every time a development comes up, my number one concern is, well, where is the traffic going to go, and why aren't we building more roads? And there is such a disconnect. And this transportation master plan has to be education forward. And we have to start talking about the real studied evidence for 60, 70 years about what building more roads gets us. And I don't think we have that. So I would really like to see staff be more forward present in what building more roads gets us. We have 440,000 people by 2050 in this town who are going to be here, according to the best planning estimates. And we cannot build more roads to accommodate that. So I would like to see in the transportation master plan actual language in our educational elements and our promotional stuff about the absolute abject failure of what building more roads does to congestion, because people do not understand that. And I think we need to be forward in that conversation and not be on our heels and telling people, we'll just ride more bikes or take more buses and that will solve it. We need to tell people building more roads doesn't work. So if we can try and accommodate that language in our educational program, I think it will take us leaps and bounds about conversations we have with our residents every day. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Staff, would you like to maybe expand on, talking about widening roads is in the plan 34 times. It's not like you haven't beat that drum, but maybe you could reassure council and the public that it will also be prominent in our education.
So through the mayor, what I would say, the transportation master plan has taken an evolution from through the course of time. We have seen that shift, and we can definitely include more language with respect to that. But I will say the report and the staff report and the TMP itself does speak to the fact that we cannot widen roads. It actually builds on our 2018 TMP, where we did an exercise of looking at all of the possible roads, if you can recall, through the Development Charges Steering Committee that could possibly be widened, and did a network assessment in 2018 to look at those roadways and the impact of those roadways, which included connectivity, which looked at impacts to stable residential networks, neighborhoods, as well as impacts to our forestry and our urban canopy. And through that review, we did look at only 2 roads being eligible and that could be widened, and that was 8th line as well as 3rd line and 8th line. So we have carried that forward, and that is still the message. So I do take the councillor's point at perhaps maybe reiterating that more so that it is a little bit forward, but I would say that it has taken that approach since the original switching gears in 2012.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. And just to put a point on that, it's not about our ability to widen roads. It's the abject failure of what widening roads brings to traffic congestion. So it's not about can we or can we not. It's about what it does if we do. And that's the point I think that we need to drive home. It's not about is there capacity and can we or can we not. It's about what happens when you widen roads and it gets worse. And that's the conversation I think we need to have, not about whether we can or cannot, but what the philosophical approach to widening roads has shown over the past 80 years. That's my point there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for your point. Councillor Knoll?
Thank you, Worship. I'm going to continue the conversation about e-scooters for a few more minutes, if you don't mind. First of all, I want to thank Councillor Nanda for raising this point today, and I apologize if she felt I deserted her on her motion, because I initially said I was supportive of the idea, but as I considered it more and heard the presentation and just did a little bit more research, I realized something that's really important, that the issue that I believe she's experiencing, and certainly I'm experiencing in Ward 5, and I imagine all of us are, is not the Mark Grants of the world that are using scooters to a large extent. It's the 12-year-olds and the 11-year-olds and the 13-year-olds. So with that statement, I want to ask the staff to clarify something. It's my understanding that there's nothing in the pilot that the province is intending to, or that the province has established that would allow a 12-year-old to use a scooter on a public highway. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's correct.
So in fact, that this pilot does not really impact children one way or the other. That is our responsibility, the police's responsibility, and most importantly, the parents' responsibility to make sure their children are not driving electric scooters.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, so with that, I just want to state, Your Worship, and to Councillor Nanda, that in addition to the advocacy work I know the town is doing on e-scooters, the police service has been instructed to create a communications program through our communications inspector, Inspector Paul Foley, who is developing a program with his staff to communicate this information to the public, particularly when it pertains to children. Because I believe, listening to the story from Councillor Nanda, that's an elementary school, and there's no 16-year-olds in an elementary school. Well, maybe there are a few, but there shouldn't be. I'm not speaking for myself. And so I think that proceeding with the staff's plan makes sense because it does pertain to creating rules that will apply to those who would otherwise even be able to get a driver's license. So I think that makes some sense. And frankly, I want to make sure that my colleague here doesn't get too many traffic tickets. So I'm going to support this, but I do like Councillor O'Meara's idea of asking for an expedited return on this particular piece because this is incredibly topical. We're hearing this every day. So I think that if we can accelerate this to the year that Councillor O'Meara was suggesting, I would support that as an amendment. I think that's all that I wanted to state on scooters, but I have a question. In terms of the advocacy page here, I know it's in the advocacy agenda, but I just noticed on the slide deck, there's no advocacy in general for BRT on page 18. So I see there's an advocacy specifically for the alignment of the BRT through White Oaks Boulevard, but nothing on advocacy, continuing advocacy for Dundas, et cetera. Is that just because it was already obvious, or is there a reason why it's not on that list?
Through the chair, it includes advocacy in general for BRT through this because it is an important transit component for the town.
I just want to make sure that was stated because it does only say BRT through White Oaks. So my second question in this regard is, what is the BRT through White Oaks? I mean, I should know, this is running through my constituency, but why are you advocating to terminate at White Oaks? Is it because the road orientation of the region's expansion, or?
Through the chair, so we do have a slide of the Midtown proposed network. Perhaps we could bring that up just to illustrate. Easier than to describe. So as we're bringing that up, it does show through Midtown the north-south road, which is parallel running to Trafalgar Road that runs north-south, as you can see, through, do we have a mouse here? No, we don't. The north-south road and continues northerly along that yellow and green section goes up to White Oaks through the long term. So it would be to advocate it through this area, but again, that's just through the Midtown, but it would continue up all the way up Trafalgar Road.
Terrific, because as Councillor Grant said, Trafalgar's a mess, so whatever we can do to help deal with that's great. So thank you, Worship, for the time. I just want to state in closing to a message to the parents, e-scooters are dangerous. You shouldn't be buying them for your children. They look like fun. They are a lot of fun. Don't buy them for your kids. And if you have them, lock them up because there are kids getting hurt every single day. I recently read a report from the United States that one of the #1 causes of emergency room visits in the United States, probably in Canada as well, I couldn't find the statistics, is accidents related to e-scooters. They're dangerous. They go too fast and the kids are not trained or even physically able to manage them. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Council, I have drafted some language for a fourth item on the 11.1 recommendation for your consideration later, which I'll voice now, so in case you have better words, you can offer them up at the time. Number 4, that staff report on options to advance the time frame for e-scooters in the TMP. And Councillor Hazatil.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton. So I'll just jump off on the e-scooter, and I just want to get clarification. So knowing that they are illegal, is it your understanding, and I'm sure Jeff could jump in, that they'll be ticketed? that we have, even though we are not in, because the earlier comment was if we don't get started and don't opt into the pilot, then there's limits. Can the police ticket these 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds that are on the road driving incredibly fast? Can the police do that?
Councillor Knoll.
I'm going to get back to you on that, but I can tell you that I do not believe, and I'm stand to be correct, I do not believe the police will pull over and can ticket a 12-year-old. It would be a matter of bringing them to their parents. But I will confirm that, and I will circulate a response to that question for you later.
Okay, I'd appreciate that, because bringing them to their parents is perfectly fine.
And probably better, because
Yeah.
they can make the point that you're giving your child something that they can die on.
Yeah. No, just
So not to be too dramatic, but that's the reality.
okay, so thank you for that clarity. Okay, so shifting to some other, just on e-scooter. So when you talk about use on a multi-use path, just as a comment, I'd like to understand how you do that safely, because we have had, even with cycling on a multi-use path, pedestrians concerned about protocols. So don't know what the answer is. I leave it to you to think that through, but there is some concern that depending on the width of the path, depending on how the orientation, that pedestrians are nervous about cyclists, let alone now an e-scooter. So I leave that with you as a comment. I'm going to get to some specifics. I just want to get some clarity. So on talking about inducing demand, and you know where I'm headed, you are suggesting that we widen from Ford over to Winston Churchill on Cornwall. And that is a road that is, first of all, the intersection at Ford and Cornwall is already challenging. We then, if you proceed to widen it, you're going to encourage more trucks to use that cut through, I'll call it, to Winston Churchill, when the preferred route is for them to follow Royal Windsor to Winston Churchill. What do we have to do to persuade you that widening that area is not conducive to, A, the residential community that's been advocating like very loudly about the concern, and it's a real concern. That intersection with the trucks turning is problematic.
So through the chair, the TMP does identify roadways for up to 2051, and Cornwall is identified to be widened potentially from Ford Drive to Winston Churchill in the medium term. So as we identify all of these roadway improvements, we do have the opportunity through specific studies as well as through future and subsequent TMPs to see if the need is there and is really there. Right now, we are looking and using the best tools possible to look at population and employment and the land use around that identifies a need right now through our estimates. But again, we have that opportunity through future studies in the TMP to confirm that. And right now, again, it is a little far out to confirm whether that is the case, but based on our estimates today, it appears that up to 2041 the need would be there, but we would have the opportunity to review that.
So once it's in this plan, and I've had this happen to me in the course of the 6+ years I've been elected, people refer back to it and say, but it was approved in this plan. And so I am deeply concerned that we will be inducing demand and encouraging warehouse trucks, which will be voluminous. There will be no question trucks will be coming to Winston Churchill, but there's a preferred route. And so I'm looking for, how do I ensure that the concern is noted so it doesn't come back to someone else who says, well, but it was in an approved TMP.
So through the chair, we can identify the concern with respect to, especially Royal Windsor Drive and the intention to have that as the truck route through this area. But Phoebe, if you wanted to add something.
Yeah, so, sorry, through the chair. What I'm hearing through you is that are you concerned about the truck traffic? The widening is required for all the traffic, so there's still a balance between, as much as we talk about multimodal, we do need to take a look at the overall traffic requirement. Concern with the truck, we could take a look at the permissive and the restrictive piece of it and visit where the truck is best to be routed. But then from a widening perspective, the requirements required based on the populations and employment, the modeling that we've done.
So respectfully, once you widen that road, you are not going to be restricting trucks coming across. We all know that. And so it is a problem that's coming forward, and it won't go away. So I take that intersection. I have numerous residents who speak to me about that intersection frequently. Widening that road will induce demand to use that road. It's not necessarily necessary. Maybe in 2041, if I have an assurance that it will be revisited, then I'd be satisfied. But I'm concerned that it's written the way it is when individuals will know full well, we do not want this to become the warehouse truck road. Not because we're not going to have warehouses, but because that intersection will not be as safe as it needs to be. It is a major corridor coming down forward into the residential community.
Ms. Rogers, I heard Khalil's presentation speak at some detail about how the plan provides for enforcing truck routes, and are we to take from this that we can't do that?
Through the chair, no, the permissive truck route actually it allows for clear indication of where the trucks should go, as opposed to right now, it's not very clear. It just shows restrictions. So technically, it appears that you could drive a truck anywhere within Oakville. So it is reframing the truck restrictions within Oakville, but it actually allows and clearly identifies where the trucks can operate through the town. So it would allow us to actually clearly identify and enforce better.
So if I understand you correctly, as drafted, the Transportation Master Plan is intended to increase our ability to enforce trucks away from where we don't want them and to the places where we do?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up for me. Thank you, Councillor, for the time.
So the map shows it as a truck route. So it shows going across Cornwall over to Winston Churchill as a truck route. If you color it a different color, then I at least have a sense that it's not an approved or truck route. So I'll leave it with you. I think I've made my point. I would hope that you would understand the numerous number of people, residents. When we talk about an intersection, that is a core intersection in the southeast corner of Oakville. And it needs to be one that we recognize we shouldn't be inducing demand there. I'll move on. Can you just clarify for me on the sidewalk feasibility studies? So I just want to make sure, how are you prioritizing those sidewalk feasibility studies? What's the criteria that makes one be reviewed faster than another?
Thank you for the question. Let me just pull up my notes. So there are several parameters that are used for active transportation that to prioritize. So they include continuity, connectivity to key trip generators, improving network capacity, network integration, and prioritization of safety and user needs. Having said that, the prioritization of the sidewalk network will be studied in detail through the sidewalk feasibility study that follows this TMP. So it's not a piece that we have necessarily ready today, but that study that's coming will look at it in detail.
So will councillors be consulted about what may be a priority from their perspective about that connectivity if you will. So we have some examples in Ward 3 where connectivity probably needs to get done sooner than later. I just want to have some clarity of where in the process we can ensure that, I'll call it the grassroots level of knowledge is conveyed.
So through the mayor, so as part of that sidewalk feasibility study, there will be a public consultation piece, and through that process, those gaps will be identified at a local level. Phoebe?
Through you, Mr. Chair. There are numerous sidewalk feasibility studies. I think what you're looking for is how do I pick this sidewalk feasibility study versus somebody else's sidewalk feasibility study, if I'm understanding that question correctly. So we look at a number of perspectives. We start from the asset management lens. For example, if we are reconstructing a road, if we have to do some sort of pipes in the road, we have to redo the ditches in the road. We like to come to the road once, and then we look at that entire road at the same time, so we hopefully never have to come back for another 20 years. So that's one way of sometimes certain sidewalk seems like it pops up ahead of someone is because there's other infrastructure program that's happening that we have to redo the road anyway, so we might as well come and redo the road. We certainly recognize that with your knowledge, if there are very key areas that are significantly missing in an entire, I'll say a corridor, there's just nowhere to go north and south, and there's one road we really need to look at that sidewalk, we certainly could consider that. We currently do not have a priority list of all the sidewalk feasibility studies. We created the map, and then we're typically use the asset management principle and using our asset management plans where we're currently working and where the asset requires work to really look at redoing the entire road or the entire sidewalk.
Okay, that's what I needed to hear. Thank you. So with that, I need to convey that Balsam is not on your list of sidewalks, streets. And I, in fact, have a petition from Balsam that they want a sidewalk that gets them from McDonald all the way down to the school. So I will just convey that to you and hope that, and we'll forward you the petition. My other questions are around just when will we see the comprehensive Midtown Transportation Plan?
So through the mayor, so the Midtown Transportation Plan is going to be presented to council later this fall.
So
Currently on the agenda for November 17th.
Okay, so soon. Thank you very much. And I would echo what Councillor Grant mentioned about timing. So the North-South Road is now listed as a medium term. The Royal Windsor Exchange is listed as a long term. And whether you are going north or south, Trafalgar is very difficult. And so will it be in design and able to be constructed within the medium term, or are we talking it will begin in the medium term?
So to be clear, you're talking about North-South Road.
Yes.
If we could pull that slide back up, I just want to make sure we're on the same page with respect to phasing. So as you can see, Councillor, from Cross to Iroquois Shore, we're identifying North-South Road in the immediate term. So our modeling has showed that the entirety of North-South Road, it'd be great if we could build it all at once, but due to costing and phasing and the time it'll take, we've phased it out in the short and medium terms for the section north of Cross Avenue.
Okay, so thank you for pulling that back up, because there's language in some of the actions in the report that talk about it as a medium term. So if this is what we're doing, terrific. I will leave it there. Thank you, Mayor Burton.
Thank you, Councillor. I would like, before we turn to the rest of council, literally, to not leave the point the councillor raised about the map. I believe it's on page 99. Let me, oh, there it is. Bear with me for a second here. Page 100, figure 7-7, proposed permissive truck network. I share the councillor's concern about this map, and I'm not sure my concern is satisfied by changing the label, but if you look at the key on the map, it says proposed truck route, although the title of the figure is proposed permissive truck network. And I understood the discussion in the plan about the benefit of the creation of a permissive truck network, because then you get to regulate it and including saying not that road but this one. So at a minimum, I would like to suggest that it's a little bit of a red flag for me as well as the councillor that we call that proposed truck route down in the key.
Mayor Burton, that would be great. Thank you.
So can we change that? And do we need an amendment to change it, or can we get minor editorial work happening without an amendment? So to be clear, to my mind, there's a clear contradiction between the title of the figure, proposed permissive truck network, and the key, which says proposed truck route.
Sorry, through Mr. Mayor, you like to change the legend key to be permissive truck network?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yeah, we could do that.
Council, we can consider that done then, apparently.
So I'm 100% clear. That means that we can determine that we are not going to put trucks on that section.
That's exactly right.
Thank you so much, Mayor Burton.
In fact, that's what the, you know, all the discussion in the plan is very good in that regard. It's just this little apparent contradiction at the bottom of page 100.
Yeah, sorry, through. I just want to make sure we're clear for staff's sake. Cornwall, between Ford Drive to Winston Churchill, I believe Councillor Hassasio want us to remove the red line such that it doesn't become permissive. Changing the legend key to permissive still indicate that line is still there. I believe Councillor Hassasio want us to actually remove the line to be permissive. And that's what we indicated previously as staff, that it's important to create these permissive truck route to ensure proper goods movement.
So is it the case, as I think you say in the plan, that by calling something a permissive truck, part of a permissive truck network, you give ourselves, we get the ability to say not on Cornwall?
Through the mayor, that's so a permissive network tells truck drivers where they can drive. The existing restrictions that are in place would remain as they are, but essentially what we're doing is we're telling truck drivers that these are the best routes for you to use, and by doing that, we're hoping that they stay off roads that we don't want them to travel down.
Well, supposing that all of council would rather not have trucks on Cornwall, what is your professional advice as to how to deal with this particular issue?
So through the mayor, so if you look at the map, you'll see that Cornwall Road is one of the only roads that connects all the way from Winston Churchill to Bronte Road. So it provides a continuous route east-west across Oakville, and that's part of the reason it's been identified as part of that network. If we were to remove it as part of the permissive truck network, it wouldn't necessarily restrict trucks from using it. They could still use it unless we put truck restrictions on there, which are not currently in place.
That's interesting, but not actually what I'm asking. What should we say in order to be sure that we have the ability to direct truck traffic along Royal Windsor, and if you follow it along, it eventually joins Spears and takes you to Bronte Road? You have a crosstown route indicated on this map on figure 7.7. CAO?
Mayor Burton, if I could suggest, I think it's an area that we wouldn't want to jump to make a change tonight. I'm wondering if you could ask us to report back on the potential of removing the permissive truck route from Cornwall. That way we can look at where does it stop, where does it begin, is it all the way over to Trafalgar, or how to deal with that section of the street. That may be a better way to address the question you've asked.
Would you please draft that?
Certainly.
You have time. I think we're going to be occupied here for a while. Councillor, changing the map may not be the solution, but it sounds like we're going to get a solution for council to consider. So now, if I take that away, Councillor McNeice and Councillor Chisholm and Councillor Nanda and Councillor Knoll, thank you for your patience. Councillor McNeice, you have the floor.
Thank you, through your worship. And I think this plan is a really great plan. It's a fundamental shift on how we think about transportation through the town, and we're seeing it implemented through Streetscape and some other initiatives already. So I think it's leading us in the right direction. But I'd be remiss if I didn't comment on sort of e-scooter type stuff. So I'll take maybe a bigger picture view of it. And slide 8 of your presentation has a category that talks about emerging technologies, and we know that these longer range plans have some variability, and a lot of it has to do with these new technologies that are popping up, and we're faced with e-scooters now, and how do we react to it. But I agree that there's probably more on the way as far as emerging transportation technologies. You've mentioned, bike share, which is widespread in many other places, and a lot of them are e-bikes now, as well as scooter share, which Burlington has one going, and Hamilton has the bike share, as well as Toronto. And then I'm also seeing many cities in the States are now piloting autonomous sort of taxi vehicles, and from what I'm hearing, that some of them through technology companies like Amazon and Google will start going into production as soon as next year. So I guess my larger question is, how can we have some nimbleness and flexibility in this plan so that we can get ahead of the curve on responding to some of these emerging technologies like e-scooters? And I agree with the notion of trying to do what's outlined in 3 years much quicker. But I also worry that there's going to be other technologies around the corner that we're going to have to be able to respond quickly to that might have an impact on our bold vision here, which extends out to 2050, as far as 2051 with some of the metrics we're trying to hit. So good luck answering that one.
Through the chair, through all of these, especially through time and as all of these technologies come forward, we don't necessarily need something explicit in our transportation master plan for staff to continue to review, but it would be an item that we would work with our partners, such as the province, to look at the regulation first for those emergent technologies and see what's best for Oakville. So again, I think the section that you're speaking of in terms of the emerging technologies and those supportive actions gives us the opportunity to look at what's coming ahead. And as we come back through the next round of TMP, we can address those through specific items if they are then regulated and available to Oakville.
Okay. And do we expect sort of a 5-year time frame as far as the next round of TMP review, like to begin it, I guess, and then you got a couple of years of work and it's 8 years or so till?
Through the chair, is typically a 5-year cycle for a TMP.
5-year cycle. And then, we may have time in that cycle, but I didn't see a lot talking about autonomous vehicles, maybe with the curbside management, because, from what I'm hearing and a little bit of transportation work I've done, we've had to look into having more drop-off zones, whether it's food deliveries, Uber type stuff, but also these autonomous things that are coming. But do you see that as being part of the curbside management, making sure there's spaces for these types of things? And especially, I know in Toronto and some of the condominium buildings, they just have lineups of deliveries and there isn't space for them to sort of park for 5-10 minutes.
Through the chair, yes, that is included as part of the curbside management. It is an important piece of placemaking these days, so will be included as part of that.
And will part of that sort of look at getting into some of the regulations around, I guess, street parking in front of new developments to ensure that there's more flexibility for those types of deliveries? So when we go to approve them, right now we don't really look too much at the drop-off zones But will that be able to sort of work into, say, zoning regulations?
Through the chair, so I don't want to predetermine what the results would be of that study, but it would be reviewing how we manage curbside, such as ride share and food delivery, et cetera, and identifying a place for them so that we have a more organized and more rigor in terms of the roadway to manage that. So, I mean, possibly it could lead to some other policy change, but again, it's a little too early to tell. We do have that action to review that through the TMP, and we would be doing that through that next study, in that next phase.
Okay, thank you. And then just one final question. Just in the slide on emerging technologies, there's a mention of a bike share pilot program. Is that sort of connotating that the town would manage a bike share pilot, or they would enable somebody else to do it under sort of supervision, like Burlington did with their e-scooters?
So through the chair, it would give us an opportunity to review what would be best for the municipality in terms of bringing forward a bike share. Again, we don't have that information today, but through that action, it gives us the opportunity to review, again, whether it be a third party or ourselves.
Okay, and then to get something like that going, you're saying you would need sort of some action from, it's not sort of, I guess it's highlighted at a broad level, but it's not in the sort of work plan going forward.
Through the chair, it is one of the items. So as all of the priorities and action items through the Transportation Master Plan, we do prioritize looking at need as well as capital budgeting to identify those studies to come forward in the phase of those studies.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McNeice. CAO Closey, do you want to add anything to the question of the engineer about zoning? You're the one in the room who's more qualified to speak about zoning.
Mayor Burton, you've caught me a little off guard, and I'd have to have the question repeated to
The
me.
councillor wanted to know if we would be incorporating any of these matters having to do with deliveries into zoning to affect future developments.
No, I wouldn't think that would be incorporated. That's more of an operational matter, and that's usually not translated into zoning. So I would suggest not. There are some things out of the TMP that will be translating into OP documents, but I don't think the delivery piece would be one.
Okay, thank you. I hope that's helpful to the councillor. Councillor Chisholm, thank you for
thank
your
you,
patience.
Oh, thank you. Just a couple of quick questions, and then the report is a very detailed report, and my thanks to the staff for putting this forward with our consultants. My question is I guess it's a big topic, it's e-scooters. And I think we've thrown everything into the basket of e-scooters. We need to have better clarification, delineation on the types of scooters we're talking about. And they're not just scooters, they're bikes, e-bikes. We've got 12-year-olds riding these e-bikes. Matter of fact, we had one Lakeshore popping a wheel in front of the high school, and he was about 13 years old. So no helmet, no license, and so forth. So there's some real challenges with these motorized technologies that are coming about. And the e-scooter is one thing, but I think we have to look at the other ones, because even these e-scooters, and I don't know the sources where they're purchasing them, because there seems to be modification happening on these e-scooters too, where they might be going 20 clicks, now they're up to 35 and almost 40 clicks. Like we saw one trailing a car on Rebecca last week, and I think it was doing about 35. So that's the challenge. I think we have to understand what the manufacturing and the source of manufacturing, what they're doing with these scooters and bikes. I don't know what the limitations or the laws with respect to the construction and development of these technologies, but it's almost like it's a round peg in a square hole. We think we've got it covered, and all of a sudden something else comes out. There doesn't seem to be any control over that, and I just maybe our consultants or staff can look at that and what's happening in the market with this type of equipment. So I just leave it as that with respect to e-scooters and e-bikes. And like I think everybody's echoed it, it's going to get worse, and unfortunately, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to get hit and somebody's going to get killed on one of these things. And unfortunately, and it's going to rear its ugly head to everyone in how we're going to deal with this. And it's going to come down on council, and we need to be prepared on how we're dealing with this. And I'm totally in agreement with the plans, but I think Councilor America's point's well taken. I think speed is important with this one. I don't think we need to drag our feet because the technology is way ahead of our decision process, and I think we need to match it up very quickly. Knowing what I see, what's out there right now, and I'm always in fear of what's happening with these kids with these bikes, and no helmets, no license, no training. So I just leave it as that. The only one other question I have, and I think more of a statement, Your Worship, with respect to our connectivity, with respect to our neighborhood roadways and so forth, and I experienced this coming out of Hamilton, or coming out of London down 403, and we got tied up at the links, and then the navigational program that I have, Waze, put me through some roadways. And unfortunately, it was just jam-packed in all the side streets and residential roadways. It seems to be an inherent problem with neighborhoods now. So I don't know how we deal with that because congestion, in front of residential homes, they're backed up 6-7 cars at a four-way stop, making left-hand turns, making right-hand turns, and it's just congestion throughout. So I know the navigational programs create that situation because they try to dig you the best route to get back home. But that's a challenge too that we have to look forward to in our transportation master plan. So I just leave it as that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chisholm. Council, we're now going to start a second round, leading off with Councillor Nanda, Councillor Knoll, Councillor Giddings, and Councillor O'Meara.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton. Thank you so much. So I just had a question, just going back to the proposed truck network. One question that I had was, you have the dotted purple line, looks purple to me, that says all-day restrictions 24/7. So we've had a lot of issues with trucks going on roads that they're restricted to. And we've had issues with enforcement. What type of enforcement are we looking at doing with these restricted roads?
Through the chair. Through the chair, it would be through our police services that would enforce the truck restrictions on the roadway.
Okay, so just in our ward alone, in Ward 7, because we have so much construction going on, we've had so many complaints about trucks going on roads that they're not supposed to go to. And then by the time someone is called and gets there, there's no real enforcement. But are we looking at finding the companies if we find out who they are? How do we expect them to respect our rules?
So through the chair, again, as you noted, there is a lot of construction in Ward 7, and a lot of the truck traffic that we are seeing is attributed to either construction within the neighborhood or getting to an adjacent neighborhood. So with respect to that, they are permitted on the roadway because it's the only way to access the neighborhood. But again, through the police, it would be the most appropriate way to enforce that truck restriction.
So just directly calling the police, because we did have our enforcement come out to speak to developers and, who are contracting trucks out to let them know, but we had a lot of non-compliance.
Madam CAO.
For you, Mayor Burton, yes, you have had a lot of issues with the truck traffic, particularly for the construction areas. But I think as Director Rogers has said, if a truck is on a road to get to a place, a construction site, for an example, they're permitted on the road, and you cannot prohibit them. So calling the police for that normal traffic coming in and out of the construction areas, it's the only route they can take to get to that area. And so the police would have no impact on that because they are still permitted to travel on their route to get to.
So these are actually restricted roads that they're going on.
It is, but if they can only travel along that road to get to a site, then it may be a restricted road, but they are then permitted to travel it to get to that site.
No, these are not, these are, I think
Yes,
Commissioner
it's true.
Fu knows, they're not going on the roads that they
Yes.
should be going on. They're taking what they would call easier routes to get there when they shouldn't be on those roads.
So just for clarity, there are a number of roads that the truck is not permitted, and we did sign that. It is, we have tried to call police, of course, like you mentioned, that they're not there by the time it happens. What we have done is working with our development engineering group and the inspectors, and they will go out and talk to the particular development and speak to the site super or whoever the owner or the manager of the construction is to tell them to ensure that you have to follow our bylaw about, you can't be driving in at 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't use these particular roads. So it's actually through regular, it's not enforcement though, I want to be clarified. We don't have the opportunity to go find the company. What we do is that we consistently go and visit, and our development services does a good job of that. So every time we do get those complaints, then we go there and then have a reminder. The unfortunate part of any construction, as you know, is a different crew every other day, depending. It's concrete one day and steel the other day. So then it's more about just repetitiveness of reminders and then ensuring that the company themselves are constantly asking their truck drivers to take the proper route as opposed to cutting through the neighborhoods.
Okay, perfect. Because I just thought that if we have restricted, then hopefully there's some enforcement happening there, but otherwise. And then my other question was, this was just a question on, so we've been talking about all the roads and using other means of transportation other than auto. And I know in North Oakville specifically, we talk about trying to get them not to rely on automobile. But I thought I had an interesting question. I was wondering if we ever did an internal survey just within the town of Oakville to see how many of our staff actually use other modes of transportation other than automobiles.
Councillor, the hour grows late, and unless you're going to move that we go past the hour, I don't see us finishing this item. And I don't think we can consider that question as in keeping with the topic that we're supposed to be discussing. So
It was just a quick thought on if we're asking people to use it, how much do we do it ourselves? And so I can leave it at that. It was just
okay.
a thought. But I can leave it at that.
It was a witty thought, but let's focus in on whether or not we can, are we going to adopt this? Are we going to change it? How are we going to make
So
it
Mayor
better?
Burton, if I could just answer that question quickly. Yes, we have done TDM work with our own staff to encourage more active use in our transit, walking, biking, any of those means. So yes, it
and
is,
that was
it
that
is
was
an
my
education piece. We do
yeah,
have our
exactly, and that's all I thought. It would be nice for for us to let the residents know that we're trying to do something ourselves. And just my last thought was just on e-scooters. One last time, that I do appreciate the conversation. My initial amendment was just in being able to speak about it, and we've had a great discussion. The only thing I would add to that, if we were speaking whatever work we're going to do, the Toronto Fire Chief came out and said that lithium-ion batteries that are associated with e-bikes and e-scooters have been the largest growing fire risks in the city. So I thought it would be great for us to also get Oakville Fire involved to see. They saw in 2023 that there were 3 fires, and this year they had 29 fires associated with batteries for e-scooters and e-bikes. So if we could add that to it, I think that would be helpful as well, because that goes towards safety as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Knoll?
Thank you, Worship. I just have some late-breaking news. I just closed the circle for Councillor Hazel-Thiel, and I don't want to mislead anybody on the issue of charging. So I got a hold of our very accessible and wonderful police chief just to clarify with him. So I'm partially right. Ages 0 to 11, you can't be charged for anything under Canadian law. Ages 12 to 16, you can be charged, but it's complicated. There's no set fines. It requires a court appearance. The police are loath to do it. They generally will go to the parents. 17 above, it's full charges as an adult. So yes, you can be charged as a 12-year-old driving a scooter. It's highly unlikely. It'd be most likely result in a visit home.
If anything at all. Next is Councillor Giddings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, quick question regarding the addition of new sidewalks. One of the areas was Ford Drive below Devon down to Lakeshore. We have a concrete sidewalk on the east side and a paved pathway or trail on the west side. So is this removing the paved trail in favor of a sidewalk?
I apologize, I'm just looking at the map through the chair. 1 second.
Oh, it's page 162 of the big book, 94 in the report.
So it would be in place.
Multi-use trail, no?
Yeah, trying. So through the chair, so, sorry?
This is existing multi-use trail.
Yes, it says sidewalk improvement through here. So through the chair, for that particular location, I apologize that I am fumbling here, but what I will say, there's an existing multi-use trail through there. So as we had mentioned through the sidewalk feasibility, would be to review the appropriateness and the contextual improvement for that area. So it is identified as a sidewalk gap, but we can definitely look through that through the next phase of studies to see what the appropriate. We do have several areas within Oakville that has a multi-use trail as well as a sidewalk. So we would look to see again what the most appropriate active transportation facilities would be through that area.
Thank you for that. So when that comes up, it'll be examined, and if it's in good state of repair, there might be able to have concrete sidewalk in another location that may be more needy at that time?
So through the chair, yeah, we would definitely look at the most appropriate recommendation through there for the sidewalk, whether it be the concrete, as you mentioned, or again, looking at prioritization with other locations.
Thank you. And could you point me in the right direction in terms of Lakeshore East? We've been going back and forth in terms of design and work and hydro poles and various things. Are we close to a decision on that one?
So through the chair, we are hoping to come back to council after the TMP, as this was the opportunity to review the active transportation throughout the town. And so we are hoping to come back in 2026 for the results of that study.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councillor Giddings. Councillor O'Meara, it looks like you may have the last word.
Well, I'll be very brief, Your Worship. Thank you very much. I just hope if there's any report coming back on Cornwall, that we don't sort of hijack them like we did stormwater, and businesses know what we're about to do to them on Cornwall. There's an air conditioning place, there's a food storage, there's a bunch of places that might be impacted. So whatever we do, I would really hope that we knock on doors and tell businesses what we think we want to do with trucks on Cornwall, because that will impact them. And my second point, Your Worship, is just if I could move that the motion to move the e-scooter report from 3 years to 1 year. You had some language up there. I'd be happy to move that amendment.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to, the clerk is about to, wait, we have new hands. Let me deal with Councillor O'Meara before I turn to the new hands. The clerk is about to circulate a complete motion with all of the suggested amendments. And I'm going to rely on Councillor O'Meara to provide the motion for that. And I will, once you've had a chance to see it, I'll revisit that request to Councillor O'Meara. And on the other hand, maybe on the screen in front of us right now. Let's see. So there's so delete it. And you can delete to 6. And can you show the rest of it? Tricky. Oh, there you go. So, Councillor Hazlitt-Deal, on the off chance that you're offering to be the seconder, I'll recognize you now, and otherwise I'm going to return to getting the motion on the floor, and then we'll call on you.
So I'm happy to second it. I do have one final question. Not on this, but on the overall TMP.
Very well. Let's get this on the floor, and then we'll come back for your question. Councillor O'Meara, are you satisfied, and are you moving this?
Your worship, I would just say under item number 4 that staff report back on options to restrict truck traffic on Cornwall Road from Ford Drive to Winston Churchill Boulevard with consultation to affected businesses. And that's great. Happy to move. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And Clerk Short, would you change to with? Consultation with affected businesses? We'll get there. And then it's an A instead of an E on affected. Okay. Thank you, Councillor O'Meara and Councillor Hazlitt-Deal. Councillor Hazlitt-Deal has a question.
My question is just further on sidewalks. If the TMP is improved as it's written, are we actually endorsing a sidewalk design that says there'll be sidewalks on both sides of a road? Or are we simply saying that there'll be a sidewalk feasibility study which will include public consultation and assess connectivity and all the contextual nature?
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. And then my final comment, Mayor Burton, is further to Councillor O'Meara's note with affected businesses, I'd say, and the residents.
Sure.
And then happy to support moving it.
Thank you. Just delete the Article D and just and residents. Great. Okay, we have new hands. Councillor Adams and then Councillor Chisholm.
Thank you very much for working with us to get all the little changes in. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't lose sight of the delegation that we had tonight.
Right. Well, we now have something for them to delegate about. Councillor Chisholm.
Yes, Your Worship. Recommendation 5, can we put in the staff report on 2026 with the evaluation of e-scooters / e-bikes?
Sure.
Usage or use?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we'll leave that up and we will, assuming all our hands are down and we're ready to hear from our registered delegation, Mr. Clerk, would you call the delegation?
Pierre Sauvageau.
Welcome, Mr. Sauvageau. Council looks forward to your information.
Good evening. I know the topic on e-scooters has been discussed quite a bit. However, I just want to bring your attention, I almost ran over 2 e-scooter teenagers, even young adults. So it is very important that this issue is resolved in the next year. With respect to the police, they've got their hands full, basically. So it's left up to, for the younger kids, the parents, as younger kids, well, elementary, high school, on my street, it's going up and down all the time, and the speeds are very fast. I have to be very careful backing out of my driveway. So, Councillor Nav, you made an excellent point in regards to the schools. Can it be looked into by staff to get various schools, the elementary as well as high schools, to ban e-scooters? Because schools have restricted the use, and some United States cities in regards to cell phones. Similarly, e-scooters is a topic that should be banned from schools because the kids use it going to and from school. Speeds are fast, dangerous. One other area I want to bring to your attention is in regards to the intelligent transportation system. It's been discussed for years and years at the town, and it's indicated we may look into this program, may do this, may do that. It's past May already, okay? So it needs to be addressed. I know the regional government is looking into piloting projects as well, but this needs to be done, especially in regards to, like, for instance, the various automated systems, cars, etc. This would be an excellent opportunity to redirect traffic from busy areas to less busy areas, as well as intelligent systems changing the lights properly and timely will reduce pollution, wait times, aggravation, frustrations by various drivers as well as pedestrians. And that should be part of this active transportation plan. I know it's mentioned briefly on page 63, but it doesn't say much of anything there. So please make it more robust in that area. And lastly, the third point is in regards to HOVs and designated lanes for Dundas and Trafalgar. If you build it, they will come. Roads, notorious. It's been discussed years in various municipalities that you just flood your streets with more cars. I see on Trafalgar, going down in the morning, rush hour, there's hundreds of cars heading to the GO station with one person. Now, it's time that Trafalgar has a dedicated lane, HOV for transit. It's so important. If you put that lane during rush hour, then the various drivers who are doing their trip back and forth, one driver will think, why is it I should use transit? Because it flows. If they're stuck in traffic because you now only have 2 lanes, fine. It makes sense. Then the people will see there's alternative active transportation. Our buses can do the job, and it should be dedicated. Simple as that. And that's all I have to say. There's many other issues, but I know time's running out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sauvageau, for sharing your thoughts with us. All right, Council, I my mic said it was on, but anyway, what's a boy to do? Councilor O'Meara.
Yeah, I apologize, Your Worship. One thing I wanted to say is just instead of a year, maybe Q4 or in 2026. Yeah, just I know the election's next year, so as long as we give staff the flexibility at some time, it's not within 1 year specifically.
Sorry, is it okay as written in 2026?
Sure, yeah, I apologize. I couldn't see it again on the screen. So as long as we give them the flexibility sometime next year, not within 1 year specifically. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, if you just give me a second here. Number 5 reads that staff report in 2026 with the evaluation of e-scooter / e-bikes use including on the question of confirming the town's position on opting into the provincial pilot program and options to advance the town's opportunities to regulate the use of e-scooters. Council, I think what we need to do is we need to repeat the / e-bikes on the last word where it says e-scooters. And I believe that we also want to say, after provincial pilot program, we need to insert for e-scooters, there being no provincial pilot program about e-bikes. And so this way, we're not asking for impossible things, and nevertheless, we're sticking to what all of us have, I think all of us want on this. Councillor Knoll.
Can I help with this just a little bit with a question of staff? Because the province did a pilot on e-bikes, and it's now the law. It's now in the Highway Traffic Act. So the horse is out of the barn kind of in terms of a pilot or any kind of study, except as it pertains to municipal bylaws. So I'm just curious how staff would respond to that codicil. And I think it's important that we really emphasize the e-scooters over e-bikes, which has been debated. And
I agree completely with you, but as I've offered, as the rewording that I've offered takes e-bikes out of any association with the pilot program, and for them, ask staff to report on what are our opportunities to regulate their use, which is what you just said.
Yes, as long as it's absolutely clear, because the other one is so critical.
Well, I need staff to say that's clear.
Through the mayor, I think that's clear to staff. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. You had me going, had me worried there for a moment. No, I don't want it there. So can you take that off?
Yeah, I'll get her.
Got a little too enthusiastic about adding e-bikes. Okay, very good, and we have to thank the clerk for his eagle eye. So, we have more hands. Councillor O'Meara and then Councillor Knoll. Councillor
Yeah,
O'Meara.
thank you, Mayor. I think we still need to put in there that we still want the province to do this. So we're going to report back and we want a town's position. But I also think we should put that we still look to the province to bring forward provincial regulations on this. In spite of what we're doing here, I apologize. It's not as succinct as I would like it to be, but I think we need to put in there that this is should be a provincial responsibility as well. So we have to make sure that we get them.
Councillor, how about we add a 6th point? And the 6th point says that council adds to its intergovernmental list of issues encouraging the province to act swiftly on the matter of regulations of e-scooters. Does that capture what you want?
Perfect. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
You're welcome. Councillor Adams, your turn.
Sorry, you just added the 6th point that I was going to add. I had slightly different wording, but yours is fine.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, mine isn't showing up quite yet, so let's see where we get. Is yours ready?
I was going to add that the town communicates its encouragement to the province for it to act swiftly on.
I think we're better to add it to our intergovernmental list. Madam Clerk, it's the intergovernmental issues list. Encouraging the province to act swiftly on regulations on e-scooters. So, at the risk of, you never want to try to be funny in politics, and I'll probably pay for this, but this way we add it to our nag list. The other way, it's a one-off letter. And I hope I survived making that joke. All right, Council, are you ready to vote? I think you're ready. Is there any objection to the motion? Mr. Clerk, there's no objection to the motion. It's carried. Thank you, everybody.
Good.
Now, that brings us to 11.2, the Town Square matter. The resolution is that the Town Square revitalization project schedule be paused to investigate phasing the project and allow staff to work with key stakeholders to address concerns and provide potential mitigation measures to address those concerns. And two, that staff provide an update to council in second quarter 2026. There was some correspondence earlier about can that be faster, but the drift of the staff response was considering the interruption of the holidays and everything, that it's unrealistic to expect quarter one report, although they'll try. Are we satisfied with that?
Early in Q2 would be great, particularly given that phasing strategies could be possible to start in 2026, depending on the engineering advice you get. But we absolutely appreciate, hopefully, that our council colleagues, we know Town Square is your Town Square as well. And we ask for your indulgence and patience while we find the optimal solution to support our businesses through another revitalization and hope to get to a better place soon.
Okay. I'll put the question. Is there any objection to the motion? Mr. Clerk, there's no objection, and so that carries. Council, you have a report to receive on the 2025 significant winter event. That's the week we had 3 big storms and a total, I think, of 65 centimeters of snow, which exhibited some of the limits of snow storage and other issues like that. Do you have questions on the report, or can I have a mover and seconder? Oh, and wait, who was the mover and seconder for Town Square? I needed a seconder. Okay, so it was Councillor Hazatil and Councillor Giddings. Thank you. I'm looking for a mover and seconder on 11.3. Councillor Lischina and Councillor Knoll. Is there discussion? May I put the vote? Any objection to the receipt of the report? There being none, the report is received. Thank you. That was in case.
Okay.
Now, 11.4 is another report, but this one is a policy update on climate action policy, and the motion is to approve. And Julie Clark, the Director of Corporate Strategy and Government Relations, has a presentation. And I know everybody has carefully read everything, but I do know that the public sometimes watches and would like to know what we're doing. So, Ms. Clark, we are your attentive audience now. Please present.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. So good evening. Tonight, staff are providing an update on the town's climate action initiatives and how we are mitigating and adapting to the impacts of climate change. At the town, I've often talked about the embedded staffing model that we use, and it means that climate action is a part of our everyday work. Staff from across departments, some of which are included here, bring climate thinking into their roles with support from the corporate climate action team. And many of these staff also serve on our Climate Change Advisory Committee, which helps ensure that climate leadership is front and center in our projects and aligned with our strategic goals. The report in front of you tonight is organized according to the action plan deliverables that are outlined in Council's strategic plan. It also includes an update on the community energy strategy and Council's climate emergency declaration. And tonight's presentation will spotlight work completed or underway by the Climate Action Team, which is part of the Corporate Strategy and Government Relations Department, as well as Oakville Transit, the Building Department, and Facility Services. And staff from those departments will also be participating in this presentation. So for corporate strategy and government relations, I'd like to highlight our continued work on the task force on climate-related financial disclosures. We're continuing to follow the task force recommendations, and we now meet 77% of them. And this work aligns us with global best practices, improves transparency, and ensures that we're ready for both the risks and opportunities of a changing climate. It focuses on good governance practices, strategy, risk management, and metrics and targets. I'd also like to talk a little bit about district energy. As you may recall, last year, staff were directed to work with Oakville Enterprises Corporation to explore the potential for a district energy system in the hospital lands. And you will recall that the feasibility study that was conducted concluded that the project is both technically and economically feasible. However, we did ask that OEC take a further look into this to assess the overall viability. And I will note that since that time, current market conditions have changed. They've been challenging, and interest from landowners and developers is limited at this time. This means that the business case for a district energy system is not yet viable. However, OEC and some of OEC's, we have some representation tonight from OEC. OEC will continue to monitor the market trends and will actively engage potential partners for future opportunities. So it remains on our radar for when the market conditions begin to shift. And finally, community outreach and education is a key component of the Climate Action Program. The Climate Action team undertakes year-round engagement to ensure residents are informed and involved. Examples of our work this year include 12 community events that encourage residents' participation and promote climate literacy, such as the Flood Preparedness Open House. And these 12 events in total do the participation rate for specifically on the climate action is estimated at around 3,000 reaches. We did 3 educational campaigns, including the launch this year of a 2-year social media campaign that lets people know the actions they can take to mitigate and adapt to climate action. And we completed the Heat Pump Accelerator Training Initiative that saw 116 contractors take part, and we received overwhelmingly positive feedback from those contractors in that training. So with that, I'm now going to pass it over to Director Cowan to discuss climate action progress within the Oakville Transit Program.
Good evening and thank you. Oakville Transit has been making strides to continue reducing the use of diesel fuel and reduce emissions. For example, between October 2024 and July 15th of this year, the transition and operation of electric buses resulted in the elimination of approximately 208,000 liters of diesel, the consumption of that diesel, and avoiding an estimated 698 metric tons of carbon emissions. Continuing to build on the success of operating battery electric buses, Oakville Transit is planning to add 13 new electric buses to its fleet by the end of this year, which will be in operation, or is planned to be in operation in 2026. Over the past year, Oakville Transit, in collaboration with Corporate Strategy and Government Relations, explored the Clean Fuel Regulations Program as a potential revenue-generating opportunity. By leveraging Transit's electric bus fleet, staff investigated how participation in this program could support transit initiatives. After consulting with other program participants, staff confirmed that Oakville Transit is eligible to participate. This presents a valuable opportunity to generate revenue that can be reinvested into further emission reduction efforts and continued support for the transit program. Thank you. I would like to invite Scott Buck from the Building Services team to come up and share how climate action has been incorporated into the work that they have been doing.
Hello, and thank you for this opportunity to go through the programs that we've been working on in the building department. We've been working to create 2 separate programs to support the town's efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The first program is intended for the residents who are considering upgrades to their homes, and a second program to support builders of new houses to encourage them to keep sustainability top of mind. Thank you. To keep sustainability at top of mind when preparing their applications. The first is the Oakville Retrofit Program and is being formed around the results of a questionnaire to the public along with discussions with members of the industry. Through a digital platform, we are looking to provide education for energy efficiency upgrades, which in turn will support the reduction of carbon emissions. Upon its implementation, an energy coach will be made available to the public to discuss concerns and answer questions. The proposed program model will be shared with ELT in the coming months and will be finalized by the end of the year. In addition to the retrofit program, we are developing the voluntary priority streaming program for builders to encourage them to build beyond the standards of the Ontario Building Code. We are looking for them to build more efficient houses and provide a better built home from an energy use perspective. After consultations with builders, developers, trade associations, and other municipalities, the concept is being well received. The project is under development as we take into consideration the needs of all parties involved. We want to introduce a program that is accepted and will work. The details of the program will be shared with ELT and is on track to be completed by the end of the year as well. In addition to the programs, we're partnering with Climate Action to offer 2 upcoming educational workshops, one for residents and the other for staff. The first is the Home Energy Retrofit Orientation Program, and this is being done in collaboration with Humber College and Enbridge. This is an online interactive webinar focused on educating residents on renovations that improve energy use, how to implement these projects, and take advantage of available rebate programs. The initial session will occur on February 18th and will be reoffered as required to reach as many residents as possible. Secondly, we are bringing the Building Beyond Code workshop to Town Hall on November 18th. This program is an in-person session and is designed for municipal employees to keep current with the developing trends in the industry, changes to building science, and discuss the potential changes to the codes. As the methods of construction and the materials used in construction changes rapidly, it's important that we keep current with the industry. Thank you, and I would like to invite Asad Hussein from Facility Services to share more about their climate progress journey.
Thank you. Facility Services are committed to improving building operations by finding practical efficiencies that enhance energy performance and lower carbon emissions. We have done this by installing energy meters and simple HVAC controls to help us identify waste and improve how our buildings run and monitor their performance. These upgrades support newly implemented policies and procedures designed to help staff identify and respond effectively to instances of excessive energy use. Also, with the help of these upgrades, our team has developed a data analytics framework to clearly communicate each building's performance across the organization. This will help us to clearly communicate the key drivers behind our energy and carbon metrics and to identify impactful, cost-effective strategies for reducing emissions. This year, the town also signed up for the Transit Facility ISO Industrial Conservative Initiative. This program rewards large energy users for cutting electricity use on peak demand days, which are usually the hottest days of the year. It's a smart move that helps us reduce our environmental impact, ease pressure on the power grid, and support our climate goals. Thanks to these efforts, various capital upgrades, the town expects to avoid about $322,000 in utility costs and prevent 280 tons of greenhouse gases emissions from 2024 to 2025. To put that into perspective, that's roughly equivalent to 56 homes. We are proud and committed to continue to advance initiatives from the Climate Resiliency Action Plans while introducing new facility features that spotlight sustainability, upgrades, and showcase innovative, eco-friendly practices and engage the community. Some examples of these are the infographics you can see on the attached slide, which can be seen throughout our facilities. And some of these key examples are stormwater capture at Oakville Trafalgar Community Center and the new fields at 16 Miles. Thank you, and I'm going to turn it over to Julie again to present some of the initiatives that we have on the go for next year.
Okay, so for 2026, we are starting to look ahead to 2026. We're going to continue to promote climate action. We're going to continue to lead by example and develop supporting policies, procedures, and bylaws. So in 2026, just a few of the things staff will focus on include the development of a climate action roadmap. This is a request that you will see in the 2026 budget, and it is the next iteration of the community energy strategy. It's been 5 years since the last one. At each 5-year mark, we look for the next 5 years to get an update on that. We're also looking at a corporate carbon offset policy, which is a logical next step with Transit's participation in the Clean Fuel Regulation Program. And that's just to set rules and guidelines about how we produce or how we approach carbon offsetting to ensure transparency, governance, and accountability for the town on that. We're also developing an EV public charging infrastructure policy, which will look at the town's role in providing public access to charging stations. Roads and Works staff, along with support from the Climate Action Team, will lead a fleet electrification study to assess what's needed to fully transition the town's corporate fleet to electric, and that's specific to light duty and small equipment. And sustainable building design guidelines will be completed and brought to council next year, and that's from Facility Services. And as mentioned by Scott, a resident workshop on home retrofits is planned for early 2026, and more details will be shared with council and of course the public later this year. So with that, that does conclude our presentation, and staff are available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Clark. And we have questions, beginning with our leadoff batter tonight is Councillor O'Meara. How about those Blue Jays?
Maybe tomorrow. That'll be good thing we don't have council meeting tomorrow, eh? No, thank you very much for this. I had the fortune to attend the economic transformation launch for the Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative in New York a few weeks ago, and many of the local officials and mayors that I was talking with had stark warnings about data centers, had absolute dire warnings about their energy usage, about their water usage, about things that they had never even predicted. Oregon was about 33% in their city, in Portland, of their energy use. Where are we looking in the future? What are we doing? From what I understand, Bill 40 in Ontario here has given us till November 6th to present our comments on the province's energy use and on the bill coming up using Affordable Energy Act or whatever it is. do we have comments ready for November 6th? Are we prepared to talk about where we want to go with that, and where are we in terms of preparing for data centers?
That's an excellent question. Yes, we are prepared with providing comments. We've also been participating with the Halton Champions of Innovation on providing feedback to the federal government on their upcoming budget, and data centers specific to national sovereignty has been discussed and is being actively discussed at the federal level and the provincial. You are correct in what you're hearing about the sheer amount of energy use that's required for these data centers to function. I can't remember the number, but it's multiple data centers are required across the country in the next 15 to 20 years. And providing power to them, but also cooling them, are major challenges facing this. So it is on our radar, although it is more at the provincial and federal level that we're having discussions about what municipalities, but the broader economy also needs.
So will council see a copy of our comments before they're submitted to the consultation for Bill 40?
Yes, we can make sure that happens.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Longo, and then Councillor Giddings.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Julie, for a great presentation. I'd also actually like to thank all the staff for their engagement in the environmental initiatives. It's great to see all the different departments looking at it. As we're in the budget season, one of the things that I want to kind of ask you about is how do we highlight more some of the savings that are being generated? And two examples were transit. We're buying quite a bit less diesel fuel because now we have electrified buses. And the other one was in facility services with utility reduction of about $322,000. Is there a way to highlight that, to the public, that not only are these environmental benefits, but there are financial benefits to the operating of the town and the business that we do for our constituents? And then as we look at the 26 budget with Councillor Adams, is there a way of looking at some of those initiatives for 26 that could also, again, generate not only environmental, but financial benefits for the town?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think that's a great idea. We can certainly talk to the communications team about ways to promote the savings that we're seeing as a result of this work. I'll also note that as part of the 2026 budget, we are looking at highlighting the savings and efficiencies that have been identified as well. So you will see something in the 2026 budget process in a couple of weeks.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Giddings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great presentation. I was happy to see that the City of Markham and Vancouver have demonstrated that they can be successfully implemented. Good news. Any timing from them in terms of, it talks about a governance model, finding a suitable partner and so on in our part. Those discussions are going to take place over the next months, year?
For a district energy system to be able to launch, we require an anchor tenant and at least one client. The feasibility study envisioned the hospital as being the anchor tenant. Timing on that has been pushed quite out because of their operating agreement that they have. So that would be into the early 2040s. So our challenge is finding an anchor tenant sooner rather than later. I have no timing on that for you. It really does depend on when development is going to occur, whether or not the development has an appropriate anchor load, and then finding that one starting client to make it feasible. So I can't comment on timing, but I can say that this is something that remains on our radar and with OEC to explore when we can kind of strike on this.
No, I appreciate that. What about thoughts in terms of other high-density areas, whether it be Midtown or Northern, in terms of timing for that and the planning and the,
So that's a great question. There were a number of sites that were identified in the pre-feasibility work. There were 10. And Midtown is also on our radar for implementing district energy. We were going to do a feasibility study on that, but based on our work with OEC, the feeling is a feasibility study isn't required, that there is the option of once development starts to do a modular-based system, and as development occurs in Midtown, that we can modularly get a system in place.
thank you. Help me understand with the changes in the provincial legislation in terms of green building, how do these two worlds collide and get to a happy place?
Well, they definitely, through you, Mr. Mayor, everything through you, Mr. Mayor. They definitely collide. There's no doubt. So the province has been very clear that municipalities are not able to implement and enforce green development standards. There is a bit of a legal argument to be made on this. The City of Toronto is contesting that. And so we will wait and see what happens there. But right now, the province has been quite clear that it is not within our authority to do this. But going forward, as district energy gets implemented, it does become about the business case to do it, the advantages to connect. So it starts to become a negotiation between the developer and the utility on why it's good to connect. So rather than enforce it, it's rather than the stick, it becomes a carrot of the advantages of connecting versus forcing it.
And it may help their sales as well.
That's right.
Last question, can you help me, under background, in the first paragraph, the town will work towards the target of serving 70% of existing target property and 80% for new target property. Could you just explain that one to me?
Ooh, what?
Appendix D.
Appendix D. Just give me 1 second, please. Appendix D.
Yeah, the last couple of lines in the background at the top. I just need some help getting me through that one.
Oh, I've got it. Thank you. Oh, when the community energy strategy was developed, that was the target identified for both existing buildings and new. So looking long-term, buildings being one of the main contributors of GHG emissions, and existing communities being an area that we have to figure out how to transition them. The target was 70% of our existing communities, looking to transition them to a mix of low carbon heating and cooling options.
By 2040, so that gives some incentive to get going.
Clearly, given current market conditions, as of right now, that's going to be exceptionally challenging.
Very difficult. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Haslett-Dill.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton, and thank you to Councillor Giddings for leading the community energy charge. I have just a few follow-ups. When you say modular, so in Midtown, there's approximately 44 landowners. They all have different, long-term views of what they want to do with their property. If we had direct conversations with some of those developers about, even if the condition today is not that they want to proceed, that there is an option to potentially participate and for them to consider it in their pro forma?
So that will be part of conversations going forward as the development plans are put forward. Okay, so it is part of, as the plans come forward, then the conversations happen on the potential for putting in a geothermal heating and cooling system, for example, and it can be built in a modular way so that they can connect over time.
Okay. Thank you for adding some clarity to that. My other question is around regionally, there was some encouragement about plant-based food products. Is that something that is a part of our climate action plan?
No, it's not, although it is something I am familiar with the direction that Halton Region has recently given to explore that, and that is something that we can certainly take back.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. And then as you were going through, and I thought kudos to you for having everyone come up and share sort of what their contribution is to climate change. I was struck that from a building services perspective, there's a huge amount of upside if we could only connect with more residents. And that really replaces, to some degree, the community energy plan from before. When would we see some of the additional effort that would be put forward? I'm pleased to hear what we heard tonight, but the power of getting to folks about a heat pump and the changing pricing of heat pumps, the dramatic change in pricing to heat pumps from 2 to 3 years ago, how much it impacts and benefits their own building, et cetera. Will we see more information of that at budget, or when would we, Building Services, come back and share a little bit more about what they will be doing to amp up that effort?
One moment, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So we're looking to wrap up the requirements over the coming months, present to ELT, and looking into early 2026 to start implementation. So it coincides with our community outreach and some of the planned initiatives we have to meet with the residents and start educating and kind of building on that platform. So right now we're just looking at how are we going to do this? What are the best options to reach our residents and see what makes sense for everybody, both the stakeholders, contractors, and the residents.
So thank you. And I would call out that corporate communications has done an excellent job of creating some social media images and messaging around limiting your use of blowers and the benefit of going electric. And I hope we'll see more of that coming forward.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I would like a mover and seconder for the motion to approve the updated policy. Councillor Longo and Councillor Giddings, thank you. Council, is there any objection? Mr. Clerk, there's no objection, and the updated policy is approved. Council, we are now going to enter a stretch of the meeting where the quite a few motions from Council declaring our position on 5 or 6 different weighty issues will be before us, and it's 9 o'clock. Out of the first item is the notion is the item that came from the notice of motion called elect respect, and out of respect for our bio needs, I'm going to suggest that we take a 10-minute recess before we begin the next stretch of this meeting. So we'll be back at 9:10.
Attempts to do. We know we can debate ideas without demeaning people, and civility is not weakness, it's leadership. Toxic environments are eroding constructive, fact-based, information-sharing discussions that are foundational to making informed decisions and good governance. Further, it discourages competent, accomplished individuals from running for public office or working in the public sector. While in Oakville, we have been respectful with each other, even when we disagree. It's important we stand with our municipal colleagues and let the public know that we are committed to respectful behavior in all spaces. We reject harassment and abuse and support a culture where everyone feels safe to participate in civic life. It also acknowledges that the critical role of municipal staff and reaffirms our commitment to treating them with dignity and the respect they deserve. By supporting this motion tonight, Oakville would reinforce our commitment to fostering civility, diversity, and mutual respect in our discussions as we carry out our respective duties with and on behalf of the public. So I ask for council support, and I encourage everyone here who has not taken the Elect Respect pledge to go to electrespect.ca and sign up. Thank you for your, hopefully, unanimous vote.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dudek.
Thank you. I think Councillor Haslett-Thiel has sufficiently covered everything, but I would just say my former colleague on council, who went on to be an MP in Ottawa, Councillor Pam DeMoff, came out quite strongly when she had indicated she was not going to be running for re-election. And one of the reasons why was this very reason. And it went beyond the border of disrespect. It was actually threatening in safety. And when we had those discussions, when we would meet collectively, it was amazing, whether it was a school trustee, whether it was somebody else just saying, well, I experienced this and I experienced that, and I felt embarrassed. I didn't know how to handle it. And I'm really glad that you raised the issue about staff, because that's the other one that really bothers me. We can deal with some very controversial issues, and we can have people who are very hot under the collar. They're passionate about what they're interested in or advocating for. But there's no reason to be disrespectful to our staff who are doing everything they can to assist and be helpful. So again, I hope we can all support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor. In fact, I'm going to call a recorded vote. Next, Councillor Elgar.
Mayor Burton, I was going to ask for the recorded vote. Thank you.
Well, good news, you're going to get one. Any other speakers? Mr. Clerk, would you call the vote?
Councillor O'Meara?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor McNeese?
Yes.
Councillor Dudek?
Yes.
Councillor Chisholm?
Yes.
Councillor Haslett-Thiel?
Yes.
Councillor Giddings?
Yes.
Councillor Elgar?
Yes.
Councillor Longo?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes.
Councillor Knoll?
Yes.
Councillor Grant?
Yes.
Councillor Adams?
Yes.
Councillor Lashina?
Yes.
Councillor Nanda?
Yes.
And Councillor Shi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councillor O'Meara, you are the acting mayor at this moment, I think. And since I've moved the next motion, I think I'm required to pass the chair to you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. So I have to be quite honest, right in front of me. I don't have the next motion right in front of me. Do you have that? And I'd be happy to call it.
I will gladly, I'll remind you. This is the notice of motion about expanding acute care bed capacity at Halton Healthcare. It's seconded by Councillor Nav Nanda, and basically it supports the application by the hospital for funding from the province to expand the acute care beds at Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital by using the shelled-in space that, irony alert, we paid for back when we made the donation to the new hospital. So
I remember that conversation and those deliberations. I was on the other side of the coin with the province at that time. So, Your Worship, thank you for moving that, and the chair recognizes yourself.
Thank you. Council, I believe that we're close and that this might help put the ball over the goal line. And I'm going to ask for a recorded vote. And And Mr. Chair, those are my comments. I look forward to council's decision.
Thank you. And does the seconder have any comments on that?
I just want to say thank you. I'm happy to be a part of this seconding it. And we want to obviously end hallway medicine and how bad it's gotten now. And I'm happy to support.
Thank you very much for that. And as the late Jimmy Carson would say, you know, let's open the envelope and see what what the results are. Mr. Clerk, if you would call the roll, please, on a recorded vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor O'Meara?
Yes.
Councillor McNeese?
Yes.
Councillor Duddick?
Yes.
Councillor Chisholm?
Yes.
Councillor Hazlet-Thiel?
Yes.
Councillor Giddings?
Yes.
Councillor Elger?
Yes.
Councillor Longo?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes.
Councillor Knoll?
Yes.
Councillor Grant?
Yes.
Councillor Adams?
Yes.
Councillor Lashina?
Yes.
Councillor Nanda?
Yes.
Councillor Shi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clerk, and something we can never have too many of hospital beds. Pass the gavel back over to you, Mayor Burton. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor. The chair recognizes Councillor Grant and then Councillor McNeese, if he wishes, on the notice of motion regarding veteran crosswalks. Councillor Grant.
I don't think much needs to be said about this. We've discussed it before, but we are in deep need of paying greater respect for those who've given their lives and given their time on the war fields to secure our freedom. So we would certainly like to move ahead with this. I realize it is a item in the budget, but we just really want to make sure that we dot every T and underline everything. I believe, and Councillor McNeese may know this as well, that we've got a slight amendment to it that might be coming, but that's all I've got to say for now.
Councillor McNeese.
Through your worship, for that amendment, I wonder if we could pass it over to Councillor Giddings and then I could say some remarks.
Yes. Councillor Giddings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I had had a chat with the mover and the seconder earlier about the addition of Bronte, finish my coffee here, the Bronte, where the ceremonies are held every year, and for George's Square. We don't have an approved crosswalk there yet, but staff are looking at it. So I was wondering if I could include those as ideal locations to remember those that gave so much.
Councillor, thank you. The Bronte Cenotaph in Bronte is already in the motion, but George's Square is certainly one worth adding.
We would take that as a good addition.
Councillor Grant is offering to accept it as a friendly amendment. Councillor McNeese is... Councillor McNeese has agreed as well. And I would suggest to the mover and seconder that the words "to the Budget Committee" be inserted after cost and options in the first line.
We will take that, sure.
So that's another friendly amendment accepted. Mr. Clerk, would you call the vote? Oh, sorry, Councillor O'Meara. Oh, and wait, I forgot entirely. Councillor McNeese, we come back to you first.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think this is self-explanatory, especially in Bronte, where we've got the Legion that does so many great things, not just for our community, but for our town as a whole. And we've got the Bronte Cenotaph, and then over in Bronte Gore Park, we also have another monument there as well. So I think it's very fitting, and the public has seen such markers of our past and support for veterans in many other communities. So I don't think it's out of turn that we consider that for the great things we have in our community, recognizing veterans and just making it a little bit more visible in our day-to-day life. So thank you to Councillor Grant for bringing this forward, and I was happy to second it.
Thank you, Mr. Budget Committee Vice Chair. Councillor Grant.
Thank you. I'm just going to throw in the fact that we're including Oak Park because of Memorial Park. Essentially, years ago, it became a just assembly area where people would come every Remembrance Day, and it's grown and grown year after year. It's gone from 10 people in the mud to now 300 people in a beautiful field. And it is a center, I believe, as it's a center path for many people to come and repay their respects. So the reason why we're asking for the 2 or now 3 is because we want to make sure that where people gather to give their respect, they've got a path to walk.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor O'Meara, it's your turn finally.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the mover and the seconder and Councillor Giddings on this one. I think it is so apropos of what we're doing. As we lose more and more veterans as the years go on, there is a push to bring more and more people into the Legions and into the remembrance of what it is. And it is so important to remember all of our veterans. And there are many small communities that I have seen that have incredible flag bearers with names and veterans and the years of their death that are flying. And I look very much forward to bringing that forward next year to include some of our flags in our areas where the cenotaphs are, to recognize the individuals that sacrificed their lives moving forward. Because as we lose veterans, we need to double our efforts to make sure that they're all remembered. So thank you very much to the mover, the seconder, and everybody tonight for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll call vote?
Thank you. Councillor O'Meara?
Yes.
Councillor McNeice?
Yes.
Councillor Duddick?
Yes.
Councillor Chisholm?
Yes.
Councillor Hasathiel?
Yes.
Councillor Giddings?
Yes.
Councillor Elger?
Yes.
Councillor Longo?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes.
Councillor Knoll?
Yes.
Councillor Grant?
Yes.
Councillor Adams?
Yes.
Councillor Lashina?
Yes.
Councillor Nanda?
Yes.
Councillor Shi?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That carries unanimously. Our next notice of motion is a request for a report on interim one-way measures for Bronte Road. And you can get a report this way or by a request for report, but either way, we're winding up in the same place. And I believe that it's self-explanatory, and unless the mover and seconder want to speak to it, I'm happy to call the vote now. Is there any objection to the motion? Mr. Clerk, there's no objection, and the motion is adopted. Our next item is the notice of motion called Request for Halton Police Services to report on road safety strategy following loss of automated speed cameras. And this is moved by Councillors Haslett-Thiel and McNeice. Councillor Haslett-Thiel, you have the floor.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton. So for my council colleagues, with some advice from Mayor Burton, we have made a slight adjustment to the notice of motion that was previously tabled, and you'll see that in item 5, where it says, whereas Oakville's experience with automated speed enforcement is that speeding goes down on a continuing basis after use of ASC, even after the town relocates the ASC cameras. And number 6, whereas at all times Oakville has followed the exact terms of the Ontario government's regulations for use of automated speed enforcement. So those were 2 new whereas. And that number 5 in the action or be resolved section is that what council endorses the letter signed by Oakville Mayor Burton and dozens of Ontario mayors asking the Ontario government to continue to allow the use of automated speed enforcement by changing their regulations to deal with the Premier's issues with the ASC by amendment rather than outright abolition of ASC. So the purpose and intent of this motion was really to be proactive. Should we lose the automated speed enforcement safety tool, understanding from Police Services Board and in particular Chief Tanner, the impact that would have on the Halton Police Services, and in particular, giving them an opportunity to explain to us any additional resources they would need to continue to keep our community safe with this additional return of additional road safety work. So while I do trust that it's top of mind for them now that we potentially could lose ASE. I think it's important that we're proactive in asking for a report from the chief through the Police Services Board as we approach regional budget and as our residents ask us, so how will you keep our streets safe?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McNeese?
Thank you, through your worship. Certainly echo everything Councillor Hassett-Thiel has said, and thank you, your worship, for the letter with other mayors trying to find a compromise so that we can continue using this tool that's proven to be effective, not just from surveys from the CAA, which typically doesn't support things that restrict vehicle access in my experience, but and even surveys from hospitals and physicians just saying that it's working, it's making our streets safer, and especially around schools. So, we're hopeful that we're making a statement here, and there's always improvements that can be made, and we certainly would be, I think, open to hearing that there could be a compromise found so that this can be, as Councillor Hassett-Thiel said, one of the tools that we use. And as we all know, it's one of the top complaints we get is road safety, and especially for the most vulnerable users, which is the children at our schools. So hope that we get unanimous support for this. Thank you.
We will see, but we will certainly have a recorded vote. Councillor Nanda, then Councillor Elgar, then Councillor Adams, and then Councillor Knoll. Or you two decide among yourselves.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton. Thank you for this motion. Unfortunately, I will not be able to support it. I do have several residents that are very concerned about the use of these cameras and coming back and feeling that it is a cash grab. They want to look at other initiatives that can be used for safety and other resources that can be used for safety. But we do have several residents that are concerned that this is just being used as a cash grab and would like to see what we could do to change things. I do understand the part of asking Halton Police what strategies we could use if the ASE cameras are gone. So that is definitely something we would want to work on to see what it can be done. But as for keeping them as a part of the motion, I won't be able to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Elgar.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton. I was going to ask for the required vote for sure, because anything I've read, it's absolutely 100% what we should be doing instead of trying to hire more officers when they're not going to be standing at the schoolyard. So I'm really in favor of this, and I thank the mover and the seconder for bringing this forward tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Worship. Of course, whatever the outcome of this vote is tonight, as the chair of the Police Services Board, I'll bring it forward to our board meeting on the 30th of October. However, there's a couple things I want to say leading up to this vote, and I've expressed this directly to Councillor Hassett-Thiel, both in email and in person. While I do understand and appreciate her concern, there's no question that speeding is probably, has been, will be forever the #1 concern of our constituents. It seems to be the thing we get most of our calls about, and that's without a doubt. I think that we're kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit on this thing, because the advocacy piece I think is still is important to do, and I do not want to see the police leverage to do that advocacy. The reality is that the answer is going to come back, and I'll tell you right now, what are the police going to do? And it's going to be whatever we have to do in order to make sure the streets are safe in Oakville and Halton region within the resources that they have available to them. Now, to be clear, they do spend a considerable amount of time, energy, and resources on enforcing traffic now. All of us on council have from time to time requested enhanced enforcement in certain areas when we've had issues, and they've been there. Members of the community have requested enhancement in certain areas when it's needed, and they've been there. They do random radar traps throughout the town where there's problem areas, such as Upper Middle Road. I won't give you the exact location so we can maintain that one, but the police are doing their jobs 24/7, 365 on this, and the expectation of leveraging the change that the province has made or will be making on this on the backs of the police and the police budget is going to be difficult. In light of the fact that in Ward 1, I have requests at the police board to enhance security in Bronte for Canada and Victoria Day, and that's a big ticket price. In Ward 3, we have, we've been sending officers there to do door knocks, and we've been sending officers there to do public consultations because of the uptick in property crimes in that area. The police are pressed, and the resources are very, very thin. We're coming forward with an 8.22% budget this year. It's no secret, which is in excess of what the other departments are doing. Anything that is expected by the police to enhance or increase security or law enforcement around speeding is going to mean more officers because we just don't have any more resources. We're thin as it is. So again, there's no harm in asking for a report, but I want to make sure that we temper expectations here and not put this on the altar of the police service in a political advocacy point. I really support what the mayor has put forward, and I really support the fact that that's now been incorporated in the resolution. My preference would be to let's see where that goes first before we decide where we have to go next. We have a whole traffic engineering department that has done incredible work on speed reduction over the years, and we need to hear from them as well because they manage our traffic calming projects. And the jury's not out yet. We've got a great argument for maintaining, and the mayors across Ontario have a great argument for maintaining traffic cameras in a more limited capacity, and I think that we need to really focus on that. But I don't want, my concern is with passing this motion really puts the onus now back on the police, and the police are really going to have to come back and say, we can't really do a lot more than we're already doing without you spending a lot more money. So that's my concern, and so with those considerations, I leave it to you to make a decision how you want to proceed on this tonight. And again, I'll respect whatever the outcome of this is, and it'll be on our agenda on the 30th. For consideration by the board to go to the chief. But I just, be careful careful what you wish for here because I'm just worried that you're not going to be satisfied with the result.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Adams and then Councillor O'Meara.
Thank you very much. And thank you to the mover and seconder and everyone involved. I know there was some discussion about making the addition, and I really do support the extra addition, the fifth point that was added. The part that reads that council endorses the letter signed by Oakville Mayor Rob Burton and dozens of Ontario mayors asking the government of Ontario to continue to allow use of automated speed enforcement by changing the regulations to deal with the Premier's issues with the ASC by amendment rather than by outright abolition of ASC. I think that's a really important point because it's telling the decision maker what we actually think about it. I do, like Councillor Knoll, I feel that the part of it that tries to send it off to the Halton Regional Police Service is a bit of an aside because we all know it's going to, cost $200,000 for every extra cop on a corner to do speed enforcement, and we're unlikely to be able to have extra resources for it, so we're going to be back to where we were before. And we all know how many phone calls we used to get on that. So, and still do. In fact, I just sent one to Councillor Knoll earlier this evening. I do have two very minor amendments I'd like to suggest to the mover and seconder, and that's to add the word potential before the word loss in the title, because we haven't actually lost the ASC cameras yet. It's only under discussion. So we await the legislation that the province is talking about. And so I would like to suggest that the notice of motion be changed to request for Halton Police Services to report on road safety strategy following potential loss of automated speed cameras. And the second is in the first part of the actual motion, number 1, where it reads, how Halton Police Services intends to support enhanced speed enforcement and road safety initiatives in light of the potential absence of automated speed enforcement cameras. Would you be willing to add those 2 words, potential? Yeah? Okay, thank you very much. So, with that, I will support the entire thing. I really do think that sending it to HRPS is kind of an extra step, because I think we all know the answer is it's going to cost a lot of money if we want more, and we're unlikely to want to afford that. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Meara.
Thank you, Your Worship. Much the same as Councillor Adams said, but to the fact that we already know the answer of these questions. We know what the police are able to do. It's what they've been doing for 20 years prior to where the speed cameras were. They do what they can with the resources that they have, and I don't think we're looking for any lost gold. What we're asking them is to go and divert more resources to something that we already know that the speed cameras should be doing. And we know that the province shouldn't be getting rid of them. So I don't know why we're trying to deflect this onto the Halton Regional Police Services to go and tell us what we already know or that we get from the data. So I mean, the Police Chiefs Association of Ontario have already said speed cameras work. They're viable. That's the definitive source. I don't know why we need the regional police to go and say what the police chiefs have already said. So I think it's not a utilization of our resources that we should be spending. We should be getting the cops to help us with carjackings, with home invasions, with fireworks, with all the stuff that they do, and not dedicating sources to stuff that we already know the police chiefs have already said. So unfortunately, I won't be supporting this motion.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hazlet-Dill.
Thank you to my council colleagues for their comments. Last I heard, we don't speak for the Chief of Police, nor do we speak for the Halton Police Services Board. And while we, as more potentially informed individuals, may leap to so how much more will this cost if we lose a potential safety tool, I think it's incumbent that we have clarity from the Chief of Police, who we all highly value for his experience, to speak to us about any changes, any resources, any options should we lose ASE. I'm not looking for him to publicly state that he supports ASE. Chief Tanner was very clear with us 3 years ago when he encouraged us to have ASE and at regional council turned to local councils and said, I encourage you to invest in it. So that's a fact. But he may have additional thoughts and input, and we certainly should hear from him about the capacity constraints that he may be faced with. And if that is asking, I firmly believe we need to hear directly from him to not about just ASE, but how this impacts his capacity and his service. And I'd respect his, I believe his comments will be more than one sentence which says we can't do it. So if it is considered I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you for the discussion on this matter. And I mean, I don't want to undermine or undervalue the importance of this to our community. Speeding kills. Speeding is a blight on our society and our community. But I just want to reemphasize what I said earlier. I mean, we are in a very constrained period of time. Crime is up. Fortunately, we've made some gains in Oakville recently, but across the board, crime is up, and the demands on policing are substantial, more than substantial, more than I can say. With the changes in the legislation and the responsibilities and the lack of responsibility taken by other levels of jurisdiction to keep people in jail, prosecute properly, et cetera, it's putting even more pressure on police. So while it's fine to ask the police chief to come and discuss it, I'm telling you right now that the reality is that the answer is going to be, we can do more, we can always do more, but it's going to cost you 180 grand per officer to put on the street, because that's what it costs between salary, car, benefits, and all the other things. My suggestion would be, if this is truly where you want to go with this, the best place for this is regional council, because the chief and I will be standing in front of you in a couple weeks, and you know that you always hold us to the fire for many hours, asking every question under the sun, which is fantastic, by the way, we enjoy it. But that'll be the opportunity to really, no, we truly do. It's very informative. And we appreciate the interest on council. It's a publicly held meeting, and it's an opportunity for the police to directly respond to this at that jurisdiction, rather than at the town level. But once again, whatever the outcome of this is today, I'll respect it.
Okay, council, because of the hour, I'm going to enforce the rule that you only speak twice, and that means Councillor Hazard-Thiel and Councillor Knoll are on the sidelines now. Councillor Elgar.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Burton. I think what Councillor Knoll is missing is that the local councillors do not get to hear everything and get a vote at the region. That is why this is critical that we do this, so that we all stand firm on what we want. So record a vote for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, I'm going to ask the clerk to call the recorded vote, and I'm going to divide the question so that item 5 on the action group is and the circulation of the thing. What I want to do is by dividing the question, give the opportunity for Councillor Nanda and Councillor O'Meara and any others who might be reluctant with the first part, which is the request for report, to support ASE anyway, nevertheless, by endorsing the letter that was signed by the couple dozen mayors. Is that clear enough? And so in order to make that happen, I think what we're going to do is we're going to divide the roll call vote between the first part, which is, God, it's on the other side there. The Town of Oakville requests the Halton Regional Police Services Board direct the Chief of Police to report back to regional and local councils on the 4 items that are listed there. And then we will vote separately on, and that council endorses the letter, et cetera. Councillor Hazard-Thiel, Councillor Chisholm.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, with all due respect, I think I have the floor on this one. With respect to, so what we're doing is separating out this motion. We're having 2 motions on it, and we're voting on it. Is that correct?
We're having 2 votes on each. We're going to have a vote on each part of the motion. Under our procedure bylaw, we can divide a question into pieces.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Council, I'd like to put the vote now. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the vote on the first part, that the Town of Oakville requests the report and the first 4 numbered items under it?
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor O'Meara?
No.
Councillor McNeese?
Yes.
Councillor Duddick?
Yes.
Councillor Chisholm?
No.
Councillor Hazard-Thiel? Councillor Giddings?
Yes.
Councillor Elgar?
Yes.
Councillor Longo?
No.
Mayor Burton?
No.
Councillor Knoll?
No.
Councillor Grant?
No.
Councillor Adams?
No?
Councillor Lashina?
No.
Councillor Nanda?
No.
And Councillor Shi?
No.
Now, would you call the second vote?
Councillor O'Meara?
Yes.
Councillor McNeese?
Yes.
Yes.
Councillor Duddick?
Yes.
Councillor Chisholm?
Yes.
Councillor Hazard-Thiel?
Yes.
Councillor Giddings?
Yes.
Councillor Elgar?
Yes.
Councillor Longo?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes.
Councillor Knoll?
Yes.
Councillor Grant?
Yes.
Councillor Adams?
Yes?
Councillor Lashina?
Yes.
Councillor Nanda?
No.
Councillor Shi?
Yes.
All right,
Carried.
thank you, Council. The first part fails, the second part carries. Before we move to the confidential discussion item, I just want to say for the public, it's clear that some of us in Oakville have a speeding problem. And I think the problem is that those people have no problem speeding. So let's hope that everybody hears that it's time to slow down. Council, on the confidential discussion item, I believe there's a clear recommendation that on the face of the qualifications of the individual, we could clearly support without going to the camera. Councillor Giddings, thank you for moving that. I need a seconder, though. Councillor Lischina, thank you. Any objection? Mr. Clerk, there being no objection, that matter is carried in accordance with staff's recommendation. And the public recommendation was that a named citizen member be appointed to the Accessibility Advisory Committee for the remaining 2022-2026 term of council, or until a successor is appointed as outlined in confidential Appendix A to the report called Citizen Appointment to the Accessibility Advisory Committee for the remainder of the term of council. Councillor, is there any new business of a congratulatory or condolence nature? Councillor Shi and Councillor Hazard-Thiel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So today, according to the lunar calendar, is the 5th day of the 8th month, the day of the full moon, celebrates as Mid-Autumn Festival or Moon Festival. This is one of the most important traditional celebration in East Asia culture. So this is originating in China more than 3,000 years ago. The festival is widely celebrated across East and Southeast Asia, include Vietnam, Korea, Japan, Taiwan, Singapore, and Malaysia as well. So this is a time for family to gather, admire the bright full moon, and share move cakes as a symbol of reunion, gratitude, and harmony. So wish everyone who celebrates a happy and a meaningful Mid-Autumn Festival. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hazard-Thiel.
Thank you, through you, Mayor Burton. I just wanted to extend a happy Thanksgiving to my council colleagues, and in particular to call out how grateful we are for the many volunteers that support our community. And my last request is to remind everyone that our food banks are experiencing real need. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving, if you are able and can assist, we would encourage you to do so. We are also fortunate, many of us, and if we can help someone else through the Thanksgiving period and ongoingly, it would be an Oakvillian thing to do.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Meara.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to extend my thanks to the organizers of the Oakville Fall Celtic Festival, and in particular to my council colleagues who attended, Councillor Adams, Lischina, Councillor Shi, and Assad as well, who came. 4,000 people came through the gates of the Oakville Toronto Rock Lacrosse Festival. There were 500 dancers competing. It was their last dance before the Oireachtas, which is the Canadian Eastern Championships before they qualify for the World. So incredible day, lots of great music, lots of great fans. And if anybody knows what the Isle of Man flag looks like, you would be horrendified. But it's crazy, and I found that out on the weekend. It's something very, very interesting. But anyway, thank you to all the organizers who put that on. It's a great part of Ontario Culture Days. It's a great part of Oakville Culture Days. And it's something that I think we can continue to support. And thank you to the Government of Canada, the Government of Ireland, and the Oakville Tourism Board for supporting all the festivities that day. So anyway, thank you very much, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? I would like to extend on behalf of Council our condolences and sympathy to the Tyrell family on their loss, their sudden loss this week of a dearly beloved member of their family. The Tyrells have been an outstanding family of community leaders in our town for generations and have really left their mark and will continue to leave their mark on our town for the better. And I know you all join with me in expressing our deepest sorrow on their loss. Everybody good? Okay. In that case, I think we're at the point where I could ask for a mover and seconder for consideration and reading of the bylaws, and I can let's see, we can get Councillor Elgar on the minutes there, and we'll get Councillor Nanda. Are you offering, or you belatedly have something? Okay. Will you also second the consideration and reading of the bylaws?
Yes.
Thank you.
But
You have the floor.
thank you. Through you, Mayor Burton. Just a quick question. On the bylaws, I wanted to know if you could give us some clarification. The bylaws have a lot of things stating no parking restrictions, but I think I had a conversation earlier with Imran regarding this, just for clarification for the public of what this means.
Through you, Mayor Burton. Councillor Nanda, these streets which are included in the bylaw report, that does not mean they automatically get parking restrictions. These are added to the bylaw by default. All streets in Oakville, they are added to the bylaw. Part 3, Section 5 of the bylaw explains that when signs are displayed for no stopping and no parking, at that point, they are in effect. Otherwise, all streets by default, they are added to the bylaw. So it's part of that our usual process that we are doing.
Thank you. Just didn't want any confusion that people thought there was no parking allowed in North Oakville.
Thank you, Councillor. I see no other hands, and so I'm going to put the vote. Is there any objection to the consideration and reading of the bylaws? Mr. Clerk, there is no objection, and so the bylaws are considered read and passed. And once again, that ends the work of this meeting, Council. It's been terrific working with you, and I look forward to the next chance, and the meeting is now over.